Chapter 12-14. Lu Xiaoya was so scared that she almost had a heart attack when she saw a ghost that claimed to be her husband following her around. Lu Xiaoya was afraid of ghosts. She was willing to be a widow for the rest of her life, but she did not want a husband like this. "Don't say that the Li family has mistreated you," Wang Shi said calmly. Wang Shi was the wife of a rich family. Her hair was decorated with all kinds of hairpins, making her look radiant. Ning Shu did not stand on ceremony. She picked up her chopsticks and started eating. How could she have the strength to do so without eating? When Wang Shi saw that Ning Shu was about to bury her face in the bowl, she reached out to touch her temples and smiled arrogantly. When Ning Shu put down the bowl, Wang Shi said, "You will be staying in this room. You are Sanlang's widow. Your identity is a bit unlucky. Don't wander around when there are guests in the house. You were supposed to sew up the vulva, but the Li family is a kind family. There is no need for that," Wang Shi said magnanimously. Ning Shu. Sewing up the vulva meant sewing up the woman's lower body, leaving only a chopstick-sized hole for blood to flow out. Some families were afraid that the widowed woman would not be able to bear the loneliness and would do something that would embarrass her husband's family. Ning Shu cursed in her heart. Ning Shu saw Wang Shi staring at her and could not help but twitch her lips. Was she supposed to be grateful? Ning Shu was expressionless and did not say a word. Wang Shi looked at Ning Shu and frowned. She could not help but say, "You country girl. You don't know the rules at all." Wang Shi stood up. "Remember what I said. You are now the daughter-in-law of the Li family. You can't do anything that will embarrass the Li family. The Li family is a big family." Ning Shu nodded. "I will remember." Wang Shi then left. She probably thought that Ning Shu was young and was afraid that she would do something, so she locked the door. After eating and drinking, Ning Shu planned to go back to bed and continue cultivating. When she turned around, she saw San Lang standing behind her. He was wearing a shroud. His face was pale and there were dark circles under his eyes. It was soundless. Ning Shu's heart skipped a beat before he calmed down. "Fuck you. You're so scary. Sooner or later, you'll scare me until I fall sick." "What the hell?" The room was filled with cold air, and it was extremely cold. Ning Shu and Li Sanlang stood opposite each other. Li Sanlang's body was suspended in the air, so Ning Shu couldn't see his legs. Ning Shu said, "Since you're already dead, why not reincarnate? Why the fuck was he looking for a wife when he was lonely? He was already dead, yet he still wanted to harm others." Li Sanlang opened his black and red lips. "You're my wife." Li Sanlang's voice was hoarse, as if he was going through puberty. Li Sanlang should only be 15 or 16 years old. Why would he marry a wife at the age of 15 or 16? "Oh, I forgot that this is ancient times." "You are my wife," Li Sanlang said again. Ning Shu said indifferently, "I don't want to be your wife." "But you're already my wife," Li Sanlang said. As he spoke, the temperature in the room became lower and lower. Ning Shu walked past Li Sanlang. He took off his shoes and sat on the bed. Suddenly, a hand came out from the folded bedding and placed on Ning Shu's waist. Instantly, Ning Shu felt as if he had fallen into an ice cellar. He lowered his head and saw a pair of pale hands. The nails were black and red, and the skin was blue. Ning Shu snorted and rolled his eyes. He drew a talisman in the air and placed it on the hand on his waist. Li Sanlang stubbornly held onto Ning Shu's waist. The talisman hit his hand, and smoke came out. In the end, he couldn't take it anymore and withdrew his hand. "How do you know this?" Li Sanlang angrily said. He floated in front of Ning Shu. He was face to face with Ning Shu, and the tips of their noses were about to touch. At such a close distance, Li Sanlang's face was even more terrifying. Ning Shu was incomparably calm. He was speechless for Lu Xiaoya. Other people's ghost husbands were all handsome to the point of angering the heavens. But this one from Lu Xiaoya's family was really... It was hard to explain. But she had already become a ghost. How beautiful could she be? "Mother said that you're a country girl. How do you know all this?" Li Sanlang said with dissatisfaction. His tone was not good. His whole body emitted a vicious aura. His hair fluttered in the wind. Ning Shu's expression did not change. I still know a lot. You're my wife. You shouldn't disobey me. Li Sanlang became more and more unhappy. Li Sanlang was angry. The temperature in the room dropped. Ning Shu used the spirit energy in his body to resist the cold. Li Sanlang actually hugged Ning Shu with open arms. Ning Shu instantly felt as if he was close to 1,000-year-old ice. The coldness penetrated his heart. It's time to consummate. Li Sanlang whispered into Ning Shu's ear. Ning Shu felt that his ears were about to freeze off. If you want to talk, then talk. Why are you so close? Although she did not know why Li Sanlang did not enter the cycle of reincarnation and was still attached to the mortal world, she had to get rid of Li Sanlang. She had to leave the Li family. Otherwise, her stomach would inexplicably swell in the end. Ning Shu was tightly hugged by Li Sanlang. His body was numb from the cold. Ning Shu also felt that he was in trouble. In just a short period of contact, Ning Shu knew that Li Sanlang was a person, ghost, with a strong desire to control. Now that they were about to enter the bridal chamber, how could a person and ghost enter the bridal chamber? Let go of me. Otherwise we'll all fight to the death. Ning Shu said. If the ghost energy entered the body, it would reduce one's lifespan and affect one's thinking. You are my wife. You must enter the bridal chamber. Li Sanlang's voice was very unhappy. Are you going to disobey me? Ning Shu felt that Li Sanlang was hugging his body even tighter. Ning Shu, what kind of fucking task is this? Ning Shu chanted the incantation with full energy. Li Sanlang's hand that was hugging Ning Shu loosened. Ning Shu's incantation became more and more rapid. The surrounding air shook. Li Sanlang was forced to move away from Ning Shu. His expression became more and more impatient. Are you going to disobey your husband? Ning Shu rolled his eyes and drew a talisman in the air. This talisman was not used to deal with Li Sanlang, but to integrate the incantation into his body, to resist the cold and yin energy. However, without cinnabar, the effect of the talisman was reduced by half. If she had talisman paper, she could make Li Sanlang unable to get close to her. Lu Xiaoya, you are disobeying me. Li Sanlang threatened again. Ning Shu did not stop chanting. Li Sanlang was unable to get close to Ning Shu's body. He was very angry. Don't disobey me. Don't challenge my patience. I will give you favor. Li Sanlang said. Obviously, Li Sanlang was a person who had been favored by the heavens since he was young. He had always been high and mighty. Oh, you give me favor and I have to accept it? Favor and favor. Do you think I'm a pet? Ning Shu ignored Li Sanlang and closed his eyes. He kept chanting while drawing talismans in the air. At the same time, he threw them at Li Sanlang. Li Sanlang was very angry. He flicked his sleeves and left. Chapter 12:15. The coldness in the air was not that strong anymore. It was obvious that Li Sanlang had left. Ning Shu opened her eyes. Through the gap of the window that was nailed shut, she saw the fog outside. The house Ning Shu was in seemed to be isolated on a lake. Fuck, it really looked like a haunted house. Ning Shu returned to his bed. He had to think about how to carry out this mission. The Li family had to leave. Even if she paid 10 taels of silver, the Li family would not let her go. Because he was a member of the Li family, and even if he died, he would be a ghost of the Li family. She did not sign a contract with the Li family. When Lu Xiaoya was brought to the Li family, she was placed in a coffin. Therefore, it was possible to slip away. Lu Xiaoya had slipped away many times and was caught. When she was a little stronger, she would leave. Ning Shu got up and sat cross-legged, planning to start cultivating. He had to leave this place and slowly plan in the future. He had to plan how to survive after leaving the Li family. Lu Xiaoya's parents' house was definitely not going back. She had already been sold. If she went back, it would be a disaster for them. Selling his daughter ruthlessly was also cutting off his parents' kindness. Selling his daughter for a ghost marriage. Even if she didn't die, she would still be a widow. Ning Shu counted her skills with her fingers. She could catch ghosts, but with Lu Xiaoya's fear of ghosts and timid personality, catching ghosts was simply a challenge to her heart. She might die at any moment. She might as well not be a gynecologist. She could make a living as a midwife. Ning Shu's plan was very good, but man proposes, God disposes. Ning Shu was not allowed to leave the house. When it was time to eat, the food was sent to Ning Shu's house and then locked up. The window was nailed shut, so Ning Shu could not go out. Until now, Ning Shu had only seen Madame Wang and a few servant maids. He had not seen Li Sanlang's father. The matters in the backyard were all managed by Madame Wang. Ning Shu did not even know the basic situation of the Li family. Ning Shu was not in a hurry. When he was a little stronger, he would violently tear down the roof and leave. She really didn't understand the meaning of this Minghun. For the sake of the so-called chastity, they wanted people to be buried with them. What the hell? Ning Shu sat on the stool and began to eat. Under the table, a hand grabbed Ning Shu's ankle. Ning Shu swallowed the food in his mouth expressionlessly while his other foot kept stepping on Li Sanlang's hand. He was always so elusive, scaring Lu Xiaoya to the point of going crazy. To be honest, Li Sanlang was like a lunatic. Living with such a person was simply too much. It was not difficult for Ning Shu to understand why Lu Xiaoya wanted to escape from the Li family and get rid of Li Sanlang. Life here was simply suffocating. Ning Shu kicked Li Sanlang's hand several times, but he couldn't kick it away. His feet were freezing. Ning Shu calmly and elegantly said, "Fuck," and then began to chant. Eating rice, damn it. If it was Lu Xiaoya, she would be so scared that the plates and chopsticks would fall to the ground and scream. Ning Shu drew a talisman in the air and hit Li Sanlang's green and white hand. Li Sanlang's breathing was rapid, and it sounded extremely eerie. "Lu Xiaoya, don't challenge my patience." Li Sanlang's voice came from under the table, but there was no one under the table. So scary. Ning Shu felt that Li Sanlang was a lunatic. He treated Lu Xiaoya like this, not because he liked Lu Xiaoya, but because he felt that Lu Xiaoya was his thing. It was the feeling of a plaything. Ning Shu picked up her chopsticks again to eat. She narrowed her eyes. She wanted to kill Li Sanlang. Li Sanlang was obviously developing in the direction of a malicious spirit. "I don't know how Li Sanlang died." "You want to kill me?" Li Sanlang suddenly said. Ning Shu calmly denied, "No." Interesting. Li Sanlang said viciously. Ning Shu suddenly felt a huge force overturning her body, and she uncontrollably crashed into the wall. Ning Shu fell to the ground with a plop, clutching her chest and coughing. Ning Shu wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth. She was a little careless, but Li Sanlang's attack could not be seen, so it was inevitable that she would be hit. "I am your husband, you have to listen to me obediently." Li Sanlang's voice sounded in Ning Shu's ears, and Ning Shu could even feel a cold air entering her ears. Ning Shu stood up and chuckled a few times. She looked around the room, but did not see Li Sanlang's voice. Even if he was invisible, there were still spatial fluctuations. Ning Shu was a very vengeful person. Even if they had to hurt each other, they wouldn't be able to get anything out of it. Ning Shu's fingers moved swiftly as she formed a seal. A talisman was shot towards a spot in the void. With a bang, a sound wave exploded, and Ning Shu could faintly hear a painful groan. The plate on the table fell to the ground, and fragments flew everywhere. A fragment flew directly towards Ning Shu's face. "If you don't listen, then die." The sinister voice sounded in every corner of the room. Ning Shu dodged the fragment, but the table, chair, cabinet, vase, and bed were all smashed by Ning Shu. Ning Shu. There were attacks coming from all directions, and a large bed was in front of her. Ning Shu took a deep breath and stretched out her fist. Her fist was wrapped in a small transparent dragon-shaped force, and she slammed it on the bed. The solid wooden bed was instantly smashed into pieces, and the wooden planks flew everywhere. Ning Shu had smashed the other attacking objects. Ning Shu saw spatial fluctuations, and with a cold expression, she found that there was a dragon-shaped force behind the talisman. The talisman hit the air, and the dragon-shaped force passed through the invisible Li Sanlang. Ning Shu did not know how Li Sanlang was doing, but the room had quieted down, so he should have left. Ning Shu sat on the ground weakly, panting heavily. She did not expect to have a confrontation with Li Sanlang so soon. A maid came to get the bowls and chopsticks, and when she opened the door, she saw the mess in the room. She stared at Ning Shu, who was sitting on the ground in shock. The maid immediately turned and went out, locking the door. Soon, there was the sound of messy footsteps outside, followed by the sound of the door being unlocked. Wang Shi stood outside the room, and when she saw that there was no place to stand, she asked, "What are you doing?" Ning Shu screamed and ran out of the room. "There's a ghost!" Wang Shi stumbled when Ning Shu bumped into her. "What are you doing? Are there any rules?" There's a ghost, there's a ghost." Ning Shu ignored her and ran towards the door. It would be best if she could run away. Wang Shi immediately saw through Ning Shu's intentions and shouted to the maid beside her, "Hold her back, this damned girl has a lot of tricks up her sleeves." The maid immediately rushed towards Ning Shu. With Ning Shu's strength, these maids could not do anything to her. However, a force of unknown origin rushed into her body, making her unable to control her body. Soon she was held down by the maids. Ning Shu, fuck, was she possessed by a ghost? Throw her in. The Li family provided her with good food and a good place to stay, and she still wants to run away, ungrateful thing. You've cultivated for 8 lifetimes to marry into the Li family, and you still want to run away, bitch. Wang Shi said coldly. If it wasn't for my son's kindness, you would have been buried with him. Chapter 12:16. Ning Shu was held up and had no strength at all. She was thrown into the room by the 2 maidservants. The room was already a mess. There were wood chips, plates, and porcelain pieces. Ning Shu was inevitably hurt when she was thrown in like this. Wang Shi stared at Ning Shu. "Stay here. I was going to let you out after a while. Since you don't know what's good for you, I'll just keep you locked up. I really don't understand why San Lang is so soft-hearted and let you live. If you die, there won't be so much trouble. Even if you sell yourself, you won't be able to pay for the things in this room. Don't expect me to prepare anything for you." Wang Shi complained as she locked the door. Ning Shu took a deep breath. Her arm was hurt, but she had no strength. An extremely cold aura gathered in her body. Then, a force broke out of Ning Shu's body. Li San Lang floated in front of Ning Shu. "Don't try to escape. You're my wife, so you're mine. If there's a next time, I'll kill you." Ning Shu gradually regained control of her body. She raised her arm, which was pierced by a piece of porcelain. Li San Lang squatted down and looked at Ning Shu's arm. "I told you to be obedient, but you didn't listen. Now you're injured." Ning Shu looked up and saw Li San Lang's terrifying face, which was expressionless. Li San Lang stretched out his pale hand and touched Ning Shu's wound. "Next time, you have to be obedient. If you don't, I'll cut off your legs so that you can't run anymore." Ning Shu looked up at Li San Lang. She silently calculated in her heart. She didn't have any tools or cinnabar. She couldn't do anything to Li San Lang with her current strength. Instead, she might anger Li San Lang. "Lu Xiaoya, you're really ugly," Li San Lang said. Ning Shu wiped the blood on her arm. "So what if I'm ugly? Anyway, I can't see it. The one who's disgusting is you." Lu Xiaoya was a country girl. She did everything. Her skin was rough and dark. How beautiful could she be? If not for this matter, he would have spent the rest of his life facing the yellow earth and the sky. Although his days were tough, his life was peaceful. "But I won't despise you," Li San Lang said again. Ning Shu's heart didn't waver at all. "Whether or not you despise me is your own business. Do you expect me to be grateful to you? What I look like is my business." The room was in a mess. Ning Shu stood up and tidied up a place where he could sit cross-legged and cultivate. Li San Lang had been floating beside Ning Shu, watching Ning Shu pack his things. Ning Shu asked, "Do you hate me? I don't even despise you for being ugly." Ning Shu, Li San Lang suddenly grabbed Ning Shu's neck. "Do you not like me? Fuck, he's crazy." Ning Shu's neck was being choked, and he couldn't breathe. His fingers moved rapidly as he cast a spell. The spell hit Li San Lang's body, causing black smoke to rise from Li San Lang's chest. Ning Shu clenched his fist and punched at Li San Lang. However, his fist went through Li San Lang's body. Punches were useless against Li Sanlang, who didn't have a physical body. These little tricks are useless against me. You are provoking me. Li Sanlang tightened his grip on Ning Shu's neck. Ning Shu's lungs hurt as if needles were stabbing into them. Why was she always the one who got hurt? She was nailed in a coffin. Now, she was possessed by a ghost and was being choked by a ghost. Ning Shu silently remembered this in his heart. He must make Li Sanlang's soul dissipate. Ning Shu's fingers moved even faster. This spell almost drained all the spiritual energy in Ning Shu's body. The golden spell hit Li Sanlang. Li Sanlang was forced to let go of Ning Shu. Ning Shu fell to the ground. He hurriedly breathed in. He clutched his chest and coughed. He stared at Li Sanlang. Li Sanlang was hit by the spell. His body emitted black smoke. There seemed to be a hole burned in his clothes. Li Sanlang stared at Ning Shu with red eyes. Blood seemed to be dripping from his eyes. His figure instantly disappeared. Ning Shu clenched her teeth and set up a simple yang gathering formation and spirit gathering formation. The yang gathering formation could gather the surrounding yang qi. Li Sanlang was an evil being. In a place where yang qi was abundant, it would definitely have a weakening effect. The spirit gathering formation could gather the surrounding spiritual energy. It would have an auxiliary effect for his cultivation. After setting up the formation, Ning Shu directly sat cross-legged on the ground and began to cultivate. When he was strong enough, he would be able to deal with Li Sanlang. Violence couldn't solve the problem, but it could deal with the person who created the problem. The surrounding spiritual energy slowly gathered and flowed into Ning Shu's body, slowly forming qi. However, the spiritual energy in this world couldn't be compared to the spiritual energy in the cultivation world. This cultivation session lasted until the next morning. Ning Shu looked at the window that was nailed shut by wooden planks. He gathered his qi in his dantian and kicked the window open. Then he ran out of the room. The Li residence was very big. Ning Shu avoided the servants and maids. Just as he was about to climb over the wall, he was bounced back. Ning Shu fell to the ground. He saw Li Sanlang floating on the wall. Ning Shu's pupils shrank. It was daytime now, and Li Sanlang appeared under the sun so casually. Li Sanlang was stronger than he thought. He was clearly hit by her spell yesterday, but he didn't seem to be injured. How could this be? Damn it. Li Sanlang floated in front of Ning Shu. He tilted his head and looked at Ning Shu. You still want to run away? I have to give you a little punishment. Ning Shu's body tensed up. He stared at Li Sanlang. Why was Li Sanlang injured and his strength not reduced? What was the reason? No wonder Lu Xiaoya couldn't run away. It seemed that if he wanted to leave, he had to deal with Li Sanlang. Ning Shu's expression was solemn. He formed a seal and attacked Li Sanlang. Ning Shu quickly set up a yang gathering array. The surrounding yang qi gathered on Li Sanlang's body, causing Li Sanlang's body to emit black qi. Li Sanlang raised his hand and looked at his body. Lu Xiaoya, you shouldn't be Lu Xiaoya. Lu Xiaoya is a country bumpkin. She doesn't know these methods at all. No matter who you are my wife. As a wife, you should be obedient. If you don't, you will be punished. Li Sanlang said indifferently. Ning Shu couldn't help but let out a breath. Crazy. Ning Shu's fingers flew. Another seal flew towards Li Sanlang's body. Ning Shu suddenly thought of the Buddhist bead bracelet that little monk Huiji gave her. Ning Shu's idea moved. The Buddhist beads appeared on Ning Shu's wrist. The moment the bracelet appeared, the smell of sandalwood floated in the air. There was a faint sound of Sanskrit. When the Buddhist bead bracelet appeared, Li Sanlang took a few steps back. He stared at the Buddhist beads with disgust. Ning Shu saw Li Sanlang's actions and knew that the Buddhist bead bracelet was useful. There was finally something that could restrain Li Sanlang. Put this thing away. I don't like it, Li Sanlang said gloomily. Ning Shu turned his wrist. The round Buddhist beads rolled up and down. Li Sanlang took another step back. He stared at the Buddhist beads. His face was filled with disgust. Chapter 12:17. Ning Shu regretted not taking out the bracelet earlier. She had not thought of it before. At least she didn't have to be strangled by Li Sanlang. Li Sanlang didn't treat her as a person. Li Sanlang looked at the prayer beads on Ning Shu's wrist and they disappeared. You're running away again. Wang Shi came over with a large group of maids. She stared at Ning Shu unkindly. Can't you be a little quieter? Do you have to make a fuss? What did the Li family do to make you feel so uncomfortable? Wang Shi's expression was full of disgust and impatience. She looked at Ning Shu with a murderous glint in her eyes. Seeing that Li Sanlang had left, Ning Shu was about to jump over the wall, but she was blocked by something and fell down again. Ning Shu was speechless. What the hell was that? Catch her, Wang Shi said impatiently. Ning Shu dodged the maids and said to Wang Shi, I know I was wrong. Please don't lock me up. I grew up in the countryside. It's uncomfortable to be locked up. Ning Shu had to find a way to deal with Li Sanlang. Why did Li Sanlang become such a malicious spirit? Otherwise, she would never be able to leave the Li family. Wang Shi snorted. You're just a widow. What if you offend the guests? The Li family is a big family. Ning Shu was speechless. She made it sound like the Li family was a member of the royal family. They were just merchants. In the hierarchy of scholars, farmers, businessmen, merchants, and farmers, merchants, and businessmen weren't considered big families. I know. I won't wander around. I'll just walk around in my yard. I won't go to the front hall, and I definitely won't offend the guests, Ning Shu said with her head lowered. Wang Shi thought for a moment and snorted. You better keep your word. Otherwise, you'll be buried with them. Ning Shu nodded obediently. Why aren't you going back? Wang Shi looked at Ning Shu and said unhappily. Ning Shu nodded and returned to his courtyard with his head lowered. Returning to the messy house, Ning Shu sighed in his heart. Sitting cross-legged on the ground, Ning Shu looked at the Buddha beads on his wrist. He did not know how long the Buddha beads would last. Ning Shu felt that Li Sanlang had an endless supply of power. If it had been a normal ghost, her charms would have been able to destroy it. However, Li Sanlang had been hit by the charms and did not suffer any losses. Even if he had been weakened at that time, when he appeared again, he would be alive and kicking. What the hell? Ning Shu took a deep breath and began to cultivate. After cultivating for an unknown amount of time, Ning Shu opened his eyes. The sky was already dark. She guessed that she had angered Wang Shi, so no one came to send her food. She had not eaten a drop of water for more than a day. Ning Shu got up from the ground and prepared to go out to find something to eat. Ning Shu opened the door and saw Li Sanlang floating at the door. The bracelet on Ning Shu's wrist flashed. Li Sanlang used his hand to block the golden light and retreated far away. Ning Shu laughed and was quite smug. Then he prepared to go to the kitchen to find something to eat. Li Sanlang did not dare to get too close to Ning Shu and just floated around. Ning Shu ignored him. He found some pastries in the kitchen and ate them to fill his stomach. When his stomach was full, Ning Shu remembered that he had exchanged for fasting pills. It had been too long since he had used fasting pills and had forgotten about it. With fasting pills, he did not need to worry about food. Why are you like this? As long as you are obedient, I will let mother give you something to eat. Li Sanlang said as he floated not far away. Ning Shu turned a deaf ear to Li Sanlang's words. Li Sanlang's face became ferocious. However, he was afraid of the Buddha beads and could not get close to Ning Shu. Ning Shu raised his hand and waved it. He returned to his room in a graceful posture. Li Sanlang stared at Ning Shu's back with bloodthirsty eyes. His whole body was emitting black gas. After returning to his room, Ning Shu continued to cultivate. He did not believe that he could not defeat Li Sanlang. The 1,000-year ghost king had just passed, and this ghost was still doing it. Even if he could not kill him, he would die together with him. The next morning, someone kicked open Ning Shu's door. Wang Shi walked in, followed by 2 servants and a few maids. Wang Shi walked in and stared at the Buddha beads on Ning Shu's wrist. She said coldly, "Hand over the Buddha beads." Ning Shu put his hands behind his back and took 2 steps back. "This is my thing. Why should I hand it over? Who allowed you to bring these things? Do you know that San Lang told me in a dream that the beads on your wrist made him feel pain? As Sanlang's wife, how can you do something that makes him feel pain? Give it to me. Wang Shi stretched out her hand. Ning Shu slightly raised his chin and said in disbelief, "Just because a dead person told me in a dream, you want me to hand it over? But this is my thing." Li Sanlang could not do anything about the Buddha beads, so he turned to his mother. "Useless thing. What do you mean it's yours? The Li family bought you with 10 taels of silver. Your life is the Li family's. What else is yours? Give it to me." Wang Shi stretched out her hand to snatch Ning Shu's bracelet. Ning Shu kicked Wang Shi in the stomach and sent her flying far away. She fell to the ground with a thud. Wang Shi held her stomach and cried out in pain. Her glossy hair was stained with dust and her hairpin was crooked. She looked very embarrassed. Wang Shi was trembling with anger. She pointed at Ning Shu and said, "You are too daring. You dare to hit me." It was simply overturning the sky. The maids quickly helped Wang Shi up. Wang Shi held her stomach and angrily shouted to the servants, "Catch her and let her know the Li family's rules." "How dare you hit me?" Wang Shi was furious. She was like a lion king whose authority and land were violated. She was so angry that she wanted to tear people to pieces. In this backyard, Wang Shi was the high and mighty person who could control everything. She could control the fate of the maids, manservants, daughters-in-law, and concubines. Now, she was beaten by a country girl. The manservants and maidservants swarmed forward. Ning Shu swept her leg and tripped these people to the ground, kicking them away one by one. Wang Shi screamed and was pinned under a manservant. The manservant got up with an ashen face. Wang Shi slapped him in the face and said, "Presumptuous thing." The manservant covered his face and stepped back in fear. "Lu Xiaoya, you are simply overturning the sky." Wang Shi stared at Ning Shu fiercely and turned to leave. Ning Shu turned his head to look at Li Sanlang, who was floating outside the window. Li Sanlang's eyes were red and bleeding. He stared at Ning Shu. Ning Shu could roughly figure out a pattern. Usually, this was when Li Sanlang was about to get angry. "Are you protecting your chastity?" Li Sanlang stared at Ning Shu with his blood-red eyes. "It doesn't matter whether I am chastity or not. Chastity was something that men imposed on women. If she was willing, she was willing. If she was unwilling, she was unwilling. No one forced her. I just don't like being with a ghost." Ning Shu said coldly. Chapter 12:18. You are a ghost, a monster. Ning Shu looked at him with disdain. "What did you say?" Li Sanlang turned into black smoke and pounced towards Ning Shu, but he was quickly blocked by a light. Ning Shu formed a seal and his fingers moved faster and faster, creating an extremely complicated talisman. The talisman turned into a golden light and flew towards Li Sanlang. Li Sanlang's body was almost scattered by the talisman and disappeared in the blink of an eye. Ning Shu hurriedly followed. When he left the room, he couldn't see where Li Sanlang went. Where did Li Sanlang hide? Ning Shu thought for a moment and decided to go to the Li family's ancestral hall to take a look. Other than the ancestral tablets, Ning Shu couldn't think of any other place for Li Sanlang to stay. Even if Li Sanlang was powerful, he still needed something to stay in and couldn't float forever. However, Ning Shu didn't know where the Li family's ancestral hall was. If he asked someone, no one in the Li family would be willing to talk to him. Ning Shu planned to find the ancestral hall while it was dark. It was too eye-catching during the day. "Capture her and bury her with me." Wang Shi brought another group of people over. This time, there were a lot of people. It was a majestic group. They came menacingly. "The Li family will give you food and shelter from the rain. Otherwise, you won't be able to get any customers even if you sell yourself to a brothel." Wang Shi said sarcastically. Ning Shu curled his lips. She said that her family was a big family. Which big family's matriarch was like this? A frog at the bottom of a well bragging. A group of people immediately surrounded Ning Shu. It looked like they were determined to bury her along with them. She wasn't as obedient as Lu Xiaoya. Wang Shi's patience had been exhausted. She was going to get rid of her. Ning Shu was also a little annoyed. Wang Shi had to act like a mother-in-law every day. She wanted people to kneel on the ground and lick her feet. Ning Shu kicked away the people in front of him and went straight to Wang Shi. When Wang Shi saw Ning Shu rushing towards her with a cold face, she was so scared that she fell to the ground. Ning Shu lifted his foot and stomped heavily on Wang Shi's calf. Immediately, the sound of bones cracking could be heard. Wang Shi's face turned pale in an instant, and she let out a deafening scream. Her face was twisted in pain. Wang Shi was in so much pain that her eyes rolled back. The maidservant hurriedly helped Wang Shi up, but as soon as she moved, Wang Shi cried out in pain. Wang Shi was sweating profusely. Unable to bear the pain, she fainted. The maids and manservants were in a mess. In the end, they managed to carry Wang Shi away. When he touched Wang Shi's leg, Wang Shi's face turned even paler. This kind of injury was enough to keep Wang Shi in bed for a while. Wang Shi always tried to take the prayer beads off her wrist. The doctor came to take a look and said that Wang Shi's leg would take a long time to recover. After all, the bone was injured. 100 days was enough for Wang Shi to lie down. Wang Shi was so angry that she gritted her teeth. She would definitely make Lu Xiaoye suffer. It would be too easy for her to be buried with her. Wang Shi complained to her husband that Lu Xiaoye was here to curse their family. Her son said in a dream that he was in pain. Wang Shi gritted her teeth and said that she would never let Lu Xiaoye reincarnate. Her soul would suffer forever and be tortured endlessly. She was just a bitch bought with 10 taels of silver, but she dared to hurt her and hurt her leg. Li Sanlang's father sent someone to invite the Taoist priest of Baiyun Taoist temple over to hold a funeral. Wang Shi was injured, and no one came to bother her anymore. Ning Shu's ears finally quieted down. Taking advantage of the dark, Ning Shu looked for the ancestral hall from house to house. She couldn't find the ancestral hall. What was going on? Did the Li family not have an ancestral hall? Impossible. Didn't merchants, rich people, and nobles care about the prosperity and inheritance of the family the most? They cared about feng shui the most. The Li family didn't even have an ancestral hall? It could only be that the ancestral hall was hidden in a place she didn't know. Why did they hide the ancestral hall? Could it be that there was something fishy about the ancestral hall? Ning Shu couldn't leave the Li family. Otherwise, he would get a big bag of knockout drugs and knock everyone in the Li family unconscious. Then, he would look for the ancestral hall in the secret room. Chapter 12:19. Lu Xiaoye, what are you looking for? Li Sanlang's gloomy voice sounded again. Ning Shu indifferently turned around and stared at Li Sanlang, then her pupils constricted. Li Sanlang had recovered his strength. He was clearly injured by her talisman before, but why did he still look fine? Damn, tell me, what kind of cheat did you use? Why do you care what I'm looking for? Ning Shu's eyes turned and then prepared to look for the secret room in each room. She didn't believe that the Li family didn't have an ancestral hall. There was no place for the ancestral tablets. What are you looking for? Li Sanlang saw Ning Shu sneaking into a room and groping around. Li Sanlang wanted to stop Ning Shu, but the light from the Buddha beads made it difficult for him to resist. Lu Xiaoye, don't challenge my patience. Do you know what you are doing? Li Sanlang's eyes were red, looking very scary in the dark night. Ning Shu didn't pay attention to Li Sanlang at all. Now he was arguing with her, threatening her, because he couldn't do anything to her. This was the study room, which should be Li Sanlang's father's room. Ning Shu touched the antiques on the shelf, as well as the vases, to see if there was any mechanism. Li Sanlang suddenly rushed in front of Ning Shu, not afraid of the golden light from the Buddha beads, and reached out to strangle Ning Shu's neck. Ning Shu dodged, being strangled by you several times. If she was still being strangled, then she was an idiot. Li Sanlang was very close to Ning Shu. Ning Shu quickly took off the Buddha beads on his wrist and hung it on his finger. With the Buddha beads hanging on his palm, Ning Shu slapped Li Sanlang's chest. Li Sanlang, who was stained by the Buddha beads, roared in pain. His hair flew in the air, blood veins appeared on his pale face, and blood flowed out from his red eyes. Tears of blood flowed down his pale face, making people feel even more fearful. The surrounding wind blew, the shelves were blown over, and the porcelain antiques all fell to the ground. Fragments flew everywhere, and paper flew everywhere. Ning Shu clasped her hands, grabbed the prayer beads, and ran away. When he turned around, he saw that Li Sanlang's soul had turned illusory. Ning Shu walked out of the study and prepared to jump over the wall and escape. He was trapped in the Li family and his hands were tied. If he had the ability, he would go out and fight. But Ning Shu was bounced back. Ning Shu sat on the ground, dumbfounded. What the fuck was going on? Why couldn't she leave home? Could it be a barrier? However, Ning Shu did not sense any formation arrays. If it was a spirit array, there would definitely be traces of it. Ning Shu let out a long sigh. What kind of weird situation was this? The huge commotion in the study had already woken everyone up. Even a person who was sleeping soundly would be woken up by such a loud noise. Ning Shu tried again, but he was still bounced back by an unknown force. He gave up on leaving the Li family. He had to figure out what was going on. Oh my god, this ghost story made Ning Shu feel numb. It was clearly a story of a ghost marriage, a story of a young widow breaking through her shackles and struggling to live. Why did such a bizarre thing happen? Ning Shu expressed that he really could not adapt to the development of the strange. What was the force that prevented her from leaving the Li family? The outside world was so big, but she was trapped here and could not get out. Ning Shu returned to his room. The room was still a mess. The chairs and tables were in a mess. Ning Shu had smashed the bed into a wooden plank with his fist. Ning Shu sat cross-legged on the ground and began to cultivate. Li Sanlang, who was injured by the prayer beads, did not appear for 2 or 3 days. Ning Shu could not help but wonder if Li Sanlang was dead. Of course, this possibility was very small. Li Sanlang did not come to find him. Wang Shi's leg was injured. Ning Shu seemed to have been forgotten. However, Ning Shu's heart was not calm at all. This was the calm before the storm, making him feel a little depressed. In any case, Ning Shu felt a little scared. Ning Shu took a deep breath and began to cultivate. When there was nothing to do, Ning Shu wanted to leave the Li family, but he was bounced back. Ning Shu clenched his fist and punched the invisible barrier. It was very soft, but with the same force, he was bounced back. It was like the rebound of a spring. Ning Shu was speechless. His heart was tired. Could it be that the Li family had some treasure? Ning Shu saw that the maids and servants could go out, so why couldn't she go out? There was no need for such special treatment. After experiencing so many worlds, Ning Shu had never encountered such a strange situation. He had no idea what system of power shrouded the Li family. Was the high-level plane so unpredictable? Could it follow the plot? Ning Shu did not give up. He went to the kitchen and took a kitchen knife. He focused his energy on his dantian and slashed at the barrier. Then, the rebound force of the kitchen knife directly pulled Ning Shu away. Ning Shu sighed deeply. Why couldn't he leave? Ning Shu really couldn't figure it out. But Ning Shu threw away the kitchen knife with the blade rolled into a cone and returned to his room to continue cultivating. Was it because he was not strong enough that he could not break through the barrier? Ning Shu took a fasting pill. The fasting pill could make him not hungry for half a month. Ning Shu rubbed his chin, wondering if the problem lay with Li Sanlang. Ning Shu thought about it. In the Li family, only Li Sanlang was close to her. They were husband and wife. Li Sanlang did not let him leave, so he still had to kill him. Ning Shu sat cross-legged and began to cultivate. Otherwise, he would not have the strength to face sudden events. Li Sanlang, who had disappeared for more than a month, appeared. The ghost that was hurt by the Buddha beads had recovered. Ning Shu did not know what to say. He could only sigh helplessly. Ning Shu stood up and stood face to face with Li Sanlang. Lu Xiaoya. Li Sanlang called out Ning Shu's name, gloomy and lingering. It was not a good feeling to be called by a ghost. Ning Shu remembered that he was called by a ghost. He could not answer, so he did not say anything. Why did he only scare her? Could he scare others? What, weren't you very capable before? Why aren't you saying anything now? Li Sanlang actually smiled at Ning Shu. The smile was sinister. How could a scary face look good when it smiled? Ning Shu's expression was calm. I have a question, but I don't know if I should ask. Why are you completely fine? Just. Li Sanlang stared at Ning Shu. Ning Shu took 2 steps and stopped. He suddenly said, Lu Xiaoya, you are a good match for me. Ning Shu? Ning Shu flipped his hair. Speak human. What I mean is, you should die and then be with me, Li Sanlang said. Ning Shu had long been used to Li Sanlang's craziness. I have to thank you. If you hadn't injured me, I might not have grasped the power of the spirit stone so quickly. Li Sanlang. Ning Shu smiled. Ning Shu's eyebrows were knitted. Spirit stone? It shouldn't be the kind of spirit stone she was thinking of. Li Sanlang pointed at Ning Shu. Ning Shu quickly defended, but then he felt that something was wrong. She was trapped, and her body slowly floated up. She seemed to be trapped in a bubble. Chapter 12:20. Ning Shu touched the barrier in astonishment. It felt soft to the touch, the same as the barrier that enveloped the Li family. So she was locked up now. She was locked up without any warning. Ning Shu couldn't figure out what this thing was. Li Sanlang walked in front of Ning Shu and faced Ning Shu. There was only a glass between them. Ning Shu's pupils constricted. Not only was she trapped now, but it seemed that the prayer beads didn't have any deterrent effect on Li Sanlang. It should be this barrier that blocked the prayer bead's power. Ning Shu stared at Li Sanlang's pale face and couldn't help but ask, what's going on? He still didn't know enough. Li Sanlang. Ning Shu smiled. You can't run now, right? Ning Shu saw that Li Sanlang didn't answer his question, so he searched around. But this was a completely sealed space. There was no gap at all. Ning Shu was a little worried that the outside air couldn't flow in and he would suffocate to death. Ning Shu sat cross-legged. He didn't dare to make any big movements. Otherwise, he would use up the air inside. Li Sanlang. Ning Shu said, let's consummate tonight. Ning Shu. He was still thinking about consummating. If you don't agree, I will keep you locked up. You won't be able to breathe, and then you will die. You will die a horrible death, Li Sanlang said. Worse than you? Ning Shu's expression didn't change. At most, he would fail the mission and be killed once. He wasn't afraid of him. Ning Shu's heart felt like it was being scratched by a cat. He really wanted to know what this thing was. What kind of spirit stone was Li Sanlang talking about? Was it the kind used by cultivators? If it was a spirit stone full of spirit energy, it wouldn't have this function. It was probably some treasure that she had never heard of. Ning Shu asked, what is this thing that is trapping me? A formation was not a formation, and a Dharma artifact was not a Dharma artifact. What was it? Li Sanlang floated. I'm not telling you. Ning Shu rolled his eyes. Ning Shu sat cross-legged and began to cultivate. He discovered that there was no spirit chi in the bubble at all. It was completely isolated from the outside world. Ning Shu looked at the calm and composed Li Sanlang. Li Sanlang faintly said, have you thought it through? I don't like to force people. After all, marriage is the most beautiful thing in the world. It's best if both parties are willing. Li Sanlang said. What a pervert. Ning Shu cursed. Lu Xiaoya, I'm your husband, so you should listen to me. Your father and mother didn't teach you this principle. Ning Shu dug his ears. He couldn't hear these words. The air bubble wasn't big. Ning Shu felt a little out of breath after a while. The air in the air bubble had decreased. Ning Shu's face was a little red. Ning Shu didn't say anything. The spiritual energy in his body made him feel uncomfortable. Ning Shu released his energy. As soon as the dragon-shaped energy came out, the air bubble became very crowded. The energy hit the barrier, but the barrier didn't have a single crack. Instead, Ning Shu's body couldn't help but tumble in the air bubble because of the huge force. The sky and earth were spinning. He almost vomited. Li Sanlang shook his head and said angrily, you're really disobedient. Then Ning Shu discovered that the air bubble had become smaller. The space for her to move had also become smaller. You won't learn if I don't punish you. Li Sanlang put his pale hand on the barrier and patted Ning Shu's head. Be good. Don't make me angry. Ning Shu, crazy. Ning Shu frowned and tried to think of a way. He found that he really didn't know what kind of power was enveloping him. There was no way to break the air bubble. It was a pity that he had the soul pearl. With the soul pearl, he could directly suck Li San Lang into the soul pearl. But the soul pearl was still fusing. Ning Shu thought that it would be easy to leave the Li family. She didn't expect that it would be so difficult. Li San Lang locked her up with a point of his finger. Even if she broke the barrier, there were still countless air bubbles waiting for her. Fuck, she wanted to kill Fu Jingdao. Li San Lang wasted time with Ning Shu. He had a lot of time to waste with people. Li San Lang was confident of victory. Ning Shu felt that the air in the air bubble was getting less and less. Her situation was getting worse and worse. Time passed by minute. Suddenly, there was the sound of chaotic footsteps outside. A swarm of people rushed in. The leader was a Taoist priest in a Taoist robe. He held a horsetail whisk in his hand. When he saw Ning Shu floating in the air, he looked a little surprised. Ning Shu looked at Li San Lang. Li San Lang was clearly standing beside them, but these people acted as if they didn't see him. She didn't want such an honor. Taoist priest, look at her. A middle-aged man asked the old Taoist priest. The Taoist priest nodded. This girl is indeed not suitable to stay at home. She can be buried as a sacrifice. This girl has a murderous look in her eyes. She is wild and unruly. She will be a disaster at home. She will cause chaos in the Li family, the Taoist priest said. Ning Shu was speechless. Where did this white-haired old Taoist priest come from? He had the demeanor of an immortal. He wanted someone's life the moment he opened his mouth. He was merciful. Oh right, I forgot to tell you. This Taoist priest is the head of Baiyun Taoist Temple. My father spent a lot of money to invite him here to hold a sacrifice for you, Li San Lang said slowly. Ning Shu stared at the old Taoist priest. It was enough to invite a feng shui master to be buried as a sacrifice. Inviting an old Taoist priest was not as simple as that. Death wasn't the end. Sometimes, death was the beginning of pain. Torturing the soul over and over again and never being able to reincarnate was purgatory. If you beg me, I don't need you to be buried. I just want you to admit defeat. You are my wife and I won't hurt you, Li San Lang said. Ning Shu's lips twitched. The old Taoist priest wasn't a good person and Li San Lang wasn't a good person either. Whether she wanted to destroy the world or become a murderous demon, these people just wouldn't let her go. Li San Lang sighed and the bubble disappeared. Ning Shu's feet touched the ground and was about to run when a huge power charged into her body. Ning Shu was unable to control her body. Lu Xiaoya, since you are not willing, then die. Li San Lang's voice came out from Ning Shu's body. After the funeral, you, Lu Xiaoya, will always be my, Li San Lang's, wife. Capture her, Old Master Li said. The servants swarmed forwards and grabbed the weak Ning Shu. Ning Shu was carried out of the room and into a spacious courtyard. There was a firewood in the courtyard. Ning Shu's pupils constricted. Were they going to burn her to death? Ning Shu was tied to the firewood rack. Her body was tightly bound. Ning Shu gritted her teeth and said, Li San Lang, you and I are irreconcilable. Lu Xiaoya, after the sacrifice, you won't say such words. Li San Lang said indifferently. Ning Shu indifferently looked at the old Taoist priest of Baiyun Taoist Temple. Chapter 12:21. Following the old Taoist spell, the sky gradually darkened, and a cold wind blew past. Wang Shi, whose leg was injured, was carried over. Looking at Ning Shu, who was tied to the pile of firewood, her eyes were filled with joy. It was the expression of someone who had gotten their revenge. Her expression was too ferocious. Ning Shu was tied up, and Li San Lang was in her body. Now she was going to be burned to death. This counterattack mission was really, I dug up your family's grave. Why is the Li family treating me like this? Ning Shu couldn't help but ask Li San Lang. Li San Lang said, You are my wife, yet you disobey me like this. Do you think it's right? Damn, in this world, men oppressed women, and women oppressed women. There is a way, do you want to hear it? 2333's voice sounded in Ning Shu's mind. Ning Shu asked unhurriedly, "What method?" "Use the soul orb." Ning Shu was a little surprised. "Isn't the soul orb still fusing?" "You can use it, but it might destroy the system space. You might not even be able to return to the system space." "What about you?" Ning Shu asked. "If the system space was destroyed, would 2333 cease to exist?" "My soul is bound to yours, so I'll be fine," 2333 said. Ning Shu was a little hesitant. This was too risky. If the system space was destroyed, she wouldn't even have a place to rest. The price was too high. With 2333's personality, he wouldn't make such a big sacrifice for a mission. Ning Shu asked, "Is there something good?" There should be a barrier stone," 2333 said. "It's an extremely rare thing. Not only can it trap people, but it can also trap souls." Ning Shu's heart skipped a beat. Could it be that Li San Lang controlled the power of the barrier stone? It was a natural barrier, and there was no way to break it. The system space being destroyed is the worst-case scenario. What if it's not destroyed? 2333 said. Ning Shu, what if it's destroyed? The old Taoist was still casting his spell. The sky was getting darker and the wind was blowing sand and stones. Ning Shu glanced at the people around him. Everyone had a look of indifference on their faces, or a look of satisfaction. He just wanted to live. Why was it so difficult? There was also a man who claimed to be her husband who controlled her and threatened her to kneel at his feet and worship him as a god. At most, they would fight to the death. "Lu Xiaoye, beg me. I can spare your life," Li Sanlang said. Ning Shu said with a smile, "Sure." Li Sanlang was stunned for a moment, then he said disdainfully, "Are you sincere?" She was crazy. If she didn't submit, she would torture her to death. If she submitted, she would look down on her. "Bastard, go to hell. Light the fire." After the old Taoist finished the spell, he said with great vigor. Immediately, a servant held a torch and lit the bonfire at Ning Shu's feet. Ning Shu's expression did not change. He said to 2333 in his mind, "Use the soul orb." The space system might collapse. 2333 asked again. Ning Shu nodded, "Use it?" Even if the system collapsed, Ning Shu would let Li Sanlang go. The flames on the pile of firewood crackled and puffs of smoke drifted into the air. "Lu Xiaoye, it's not too late to beg me. I am your husband. You should listen to me," Li Sanlang said. "Is that so?" Ning Shu said with a smile. "You have a cheat, I also have a cheat. Let's see who can win. Let's see who can be more ruthless. I will use the entire system space as a bet. Put away my peerless martial arts." Ning Shu said, "Quick, the fire is burning my clothes." Ning Shu's body gradually formed a black hole. "What is this?" Li Sanlang's voice was shocked. He immediately escaped from Ning Shu's body. Li Sanlang stared at Ning Shu. "Lu Xiaoye, what are you doing?" Ning Shu choked on the smoke and coughed. Without Li Sanlang in her body, she could control her body. Ning Shu used his strength and broke the rope. Everyone around, "Catch her." The old Taoist frowned and looked at Ning Shu with a worried expression. Ning Shu jumped out of the fire pit and smiled at Li Sanlang who was floating in the air. "Go to hell, Li Sanlang." Li Sanlang pointed his finger and trapped Ning Shu in a barrier. Ning Shu still smiled at Li Sanlang. "Husband, you can die now." A black hole appeared behind Li Sanlang. This black hole had a strong suction force and wanted to suck Li Sanlang in. The surrounding wind blew, and some stones and firewood were sucked in. Everyone looked at the black hole in shock. The soul pearl liked souls and vowed to suck Li Sanlang in. As Li Sanlang fled, he released a barrier to trap the black hole. In the end, the barrier was swallowed. Li Sanlang's face turned even paler and his eyes turned red. Li Sanlang pointed at Ning Shu and sent Ning Shu into the black hole. Ning Shu sneered and glanced at Li Sanlang. Ning Shu released his qi. With a fierce collision, he deviated from his trajectory and avoided the black hole. "Lu Xiaoye, you want to kill your husband?" Li Sanlang's heart turned cold. Especially when he saw the black hole, the depths of his soul trembled. Li San Lang felt that something was wrong. Ning Shu stood in the bubble-like barrier and said with a smile, "Killing my husband to prove my Tao. If you can kill your wife, I can kill my husband. Let's fight." The old Taoist priest touched something on his hand and wiped his eyelids. He saw Li San Lang floating in the air. Seeing the black hole chasing after Li San Lang, he hurriedly threw the sword in his hand at the black hole. In the end, the sword was swallowed by the black hole. The old Taoist priest was so shocked that his eyebrows stood up. As for the people of the Li family, they were even more dumbfounded. They had never heard of such a situation before. Li San Lang had been locked by the black hole, and even his soul couldn't help but tremble. Ning Shu couldn't help but shout, "Lu Xiaoya, it's enough. At most, I won't lock you up in the future. Is that okay?" Ning Shu smiled. "Now, you don't have the right to bargain with me. Just like how you never gave me a chance to bargain before." Li San Lang's scarlet eyes flowed with tears of blood. He couldn't help but roar, "Lu Xiaoya, you are simply too daring." In a world where men were superior to women, Ning Shu's actions were considered treason. The right thing to do was to stop while you were ahead and ask for your husband's forgiveness. Forgiving you is God's business. I'm responsible for sending you to see God. No, you won't see God. The black hole swallowed Li San Lang. Li San Lang roared and then went silent. Li San Lang was gone. The barrier controlling Ning Shu also disappeared. Ning Shu stood firmly on the ground. 2333, hurry up and put away the soul orb. Ning Shu said to 2333. "I can't control it." 2333 said with difficulty. Ning Shu was speechless. "Fuck, this is not good." The soul orb completely ignored Ning Shu and 2333's broken hearts and went straight to a place. Chapter 12:22. Wherever the black hole went, it sucked in everything it could. Ning Shu felt numb. If this thing was left in this world, it might destroy this world. Not to mention the quest reward, it would be enough to kill her 10 times. Ning Shu was not the master of the soul orb, so he could not control it at all. Ning Shu followed it into a fake mountain. There was a passage in the fake mountain. Ning Shu followed it in. He found an ancestral hall under the fake mountain. The Li family's ancestral tablets were placed on a shelf. The black hole directly swept away all the tablets on the shelf. Even the shelf was sucked away. The black hole slowly began to disappear. In the end, it was completely gone. Ning Shu let out a long breath and wiped the cold sweat on his head. God damn it, it swallowed the barrier stone. 2333 suddenly cried out. Damn it, I was wondering why I couldn't control it. It wanted to swallow the barrier stone. Fuck 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 fuck. 2333 shouted angrily. Ning Shu instantly understood. Before, the black hole was like a running alpaca. It could not be stopped. After it ate what it wanted to eat, it became obedient. The barrier stone was made into a tablet. Ning Shu was not upset that the barrier stone was swallowed. Why was 2333 so agitated? How many barrier stones are there? Ning Shu asked. Barrier stones are not cabbages. How many are there? Just one. Li Sanlang's tablet was probably made of a barrier stone. It was nourished by the power of the barrier stone. You want the barrier stone? Ning Shu asked. 2333 said irritably, this is a good thing. I originally wanted to use the barrier stone to protect my data and energy. In the end, I wasted so much energy and it was swallowed by the black hole. Ning Shu rolled her eyes. She was wondering why 2333 suddenly wanted to give her an idea. It turned out that he came for the barrier stone. Sure enough, one would not do anything without benefits. In the end, she suffered a double loss. Ning Shu smiled very unkindly in her heart. She said very insincerely, you can meet it next time. Very difficult, 2333 said in a low voice. If you add spirit formation stones when you construct a world, it will be able to strengthen the world. The damage to the constructed world will be greatly reduced. It wasn't that a plane couldn't be destroyed. If it encountered any irreversible damage, it would also be destroyed. The living beings inside would also be destroyed. Ning Shu was speechless. Now, it was Ning Shu's turn to feel heartache and liver pain. His heart, liver, spleen, lungs, and kidneys all hurt. If Ning Shu really crawled into the black hole to retrieve the item, she wouldn't even be able to see what the boundary stone looked like. Ning Shu took a deep breath and asked, "Could it be that the soul pearl is fusing with the boundary stone?" "I think so." Ning Shu took a deep breath and felt a chill in his teeth. The soul pearl was going to ascend to the heavens. Previously, it had already fused with a pearl, and now it was going to fuse with the boundary stone. Ning Shu could not imagine what it would be like in the end. The fusion of the beads is going to be delayed indefinitely again, and it's consuming so much of my energy. 2333 sighed. His tone was filled with despair, like he wouldn't be able to love anymore. Ning Shu also felt like he wouldn't be able to love anymore. If this boundary stone could be used to create top techniques, how good would that be? 2333 didn't make a sound. He probably went to cry. Old Master Li saw that the family tablet was gone, and his face flushed red as he pointed at Ning Shu. "Where is the tablet?" Ning Shu rolled his eyes. "Are you dumb? Of course, it was sucked away." "You demon girl, demon girl?" Old Master Li was so furious that he clutched his chest. Ning Shu pushed aside these people. When he exited the fake mountain, he saw the old priest who looked like a celestial. He knew how to act cool. "Hand over the Li family tablet. No matter what, you can't joke about the tablets of the ancestors," the old priest said. Ning Shu said calmly, "The tablets are dead things. I am just joking about dead things. You are joking about living people. There are so many problems in the world waiting for you to save them. Why do you care about such things? There is no cause and effect between us, but you want to kill me." Ning Shu asked. The old priest waved his whisk. "Since I am paid, I will help. Then, if I give you money to end the Li family bloodline, will you do it?" Ning Shu tilted his head and asked. Old Master Li walked out of the fake mountain. When he heard Ning Shu say that, he shouted in rage, "Vicious woman, vicious woman." The old priest said, "You are too vicious." Ning Shu scoffed, "You bully the weak and fear the strong. If you want to burn me alive, then I won't be vicious." There was no such double standard. Just because she was a girl. These people used the name of nobility to do despicable things. Ning Shu jumped onto the rockery and grabbed the sagely old Taoist's collar, lifting him up with all her strength. The old Taoist panicked. Ning Shu threw the old Taoist out. The old priest was tossed out of the Li family. Ning Shu patted the dust off his hands and looked at the Li family. Ning Shu's gaze landed on Wang Shi. This woman had drowned the original owner of the body. Wang Shi was a firm supporter of men being superior to women. Men didn't need to care about the backyard, but women like Wang Shi carried out this thought. Men looked down on women, and women looked down on women. She just wanted to live, but she offended these people. If they wanted her to live, she would live. If they wanted her to die, she would die. Wang Shi was stared at by Ning Shu. Her face turned white. After all, her leg was broken by him. The Li family couldn't trap Ning Shu anymore. Ning Shu took in a deep breath. He climbed over the wall and left. He walked onto the noisy streets. Ning Shu still wasn't used to it. Ning Shu got a rag and prepared to start his life as a traveling doctor. However, Ning Shu didn't have any business. In the end, a woman had a difficult labor. The midwife hadn't arrived yet. The husband was very anxious. When he saw Ning Shu's tattered signboard, he tried his best. Ning Shu asked the man to buy him a set of silver needles and didn't take his money. Ning Shu didn't have a single copper coin now. He was very poor. The man was speechless. He had never seen such a doctor. If it wasn't for the fact that she was a woman, he would have left. The man went to the medicine hall and bought a set of silver needles for Ning Shu. Ning Shu took the silver needles. He was very happy. He had the tools to travel in the martial arts world. Ning Shu followed the man to the house. When he walked to the door, he heard the woman's painful voice. There were also basins of bloody water that were brought out. making people tremble in fear just by looking at them. Ning Shu placed the rag at the door and took the silver needles into the house. The woman giving birth on the bed was in so much pain that she had no strength. Her face was frighteningly pale. Ning Shu inserted the silver needles into the woman's hand. He touched the woman's stomach and then started to follow the fetal position. Ning Shu comforted the woman and encouraged her while following the fetal position. The woman was in so much pain that she could only groan. Especially when Ning Shu followed the fetal position, she was in so much pain that her whole body trembled. After the fetal position was followed, the birth became easier. You can use your strength now. The fetal position is already in place. Come on, breathe in harder. Ning Shu inserted a bit of spiritual energy into the woman's body. Chapter 12:23. With the support of spiritual energy, the woman had some strength. She gritted her teeth and tried her best. Ning Shu looked at the woman's crotch and said gently, "Try harder. It's coming out." The woman clutched the quilt so tightly that her knuckles turned white. The woman screamed. The baby was finally born. The child let out a loud cry. Ning Shu couldn't help but smile. He took the cloth that he had prepared in advance and wiped the amniotic fluid and blood on the baby. The woman's face was pale. Ning Shu put the baby next to her and gave the warm brown sugar water to the woman. "Is it a boy or a girl?" the woman asked Ning Shu. Ning Shu patted the baby gently. "It's a girl." The woman's face immediately changed and then tears rolled down her cheeks. "Ning Shu? Why is it a girl? What should we do?" The woman's face was even paler after losing blood. "It's a boy, right?" the man outside shouted. Ning Shu looked at the disappointed woman and asked, "Do you want to take the baby out and show it to the father?" The woman suddenly grabbed Ning Shu's wrist and begged, "Please take my baby away. There is some money in the box and some clothes in the cabinet." "Ning Shu, it's your baby," Ning Shu said in surprise. The husband couldn't wait any longer. He lifted the curtain and walked in. Ignoring the strong smell of blood, he picked up the baby and asked, "Is it a boy or a girl?" "Ning Shu, that's the first thing both couples ask each other." The woman had already turned over. Ning Shu said, "It's a girl." The man's face changed instantly. He put the baby on the bed. "Why is it another girl? We've already had 3 girls. Now there's another one." Ning Shu. The more the man spoke, the angrier he became. He grabbed the swaddling clothes on the bed and was about to throw the baby on the ground. The woman on the bed sat up in shock. Ning Shu hurriedly took the child and said in disbelief, "This is your child, your flesh and blood. Even a vicious tiger will not eat its own cubs." The man's face darkened. "What do you know? I already have 3 daughters. Do you know what people say about me? They say that I'm going to die out. I don't even have a son. If I have another daughter, I'll be laughed at." The woman covered her face and cried. The man said irritably, "Cry, cry, cry. You only know how to cry. You can't even give birth to a son." Ning Shu was speechless. Ning Shu wanted to explain to this man that it was up to the man to give birth to a boy or a girl, not the girl. But after thinking about it, he decided against it. Even in modern times, women were blamed for not being able to give birth to sons. The man lifted the curtain and left. Ning Shu rolled his eyes. "Your wife has just given birth to a child for you. She almost died. What the hell? Why don't you become a woman in your next life? Then you'll know how difficult it is. She was just here to pick up a baby, but this was the fucking situation." The woman's eyes were red and her lips were extremely pale. Ning Shu said, "Please save my daughter." "You saw it too. My man won't treat her well. He doesn't like the 3 daughters at home. He doesn't treat them well either," the woman said. Ning Shu looked at the child in his arms who had her eyes closed. She had just been born and her eyes hadn't even opened yet. She didn't know that she was facing a situation where her father didn't love her and her mother didn't want her. "There's some money that I usually save in the box. There are clothes for the child in the cabinet." The woman was very tired and lay down. Ning Shu sighed in his heart. She was only here to earn money. "Please take her out. You can find another family." My family can't afford to raise her. My husband won't raise her either. Ning Shu nodded. The woman's tears flowed out. She reached out her hands to carry the child. She kept crying. Ning Shu opened the box. There were some copper coins in the money bag. He opened the cabinet and took out a package. There were some clothes in the package. The material wasn't good. Feed the child some milk. It was said that first milk was good for the child. Besides, Ning Shu couldn't find any substitute milk for the child to eat. The woman lifted the clothes and fed the child. Ning Shu flipped through the child's clothes in the package. The clothes were folded neatly. For this family, this newborn child had become a sacrifice. The woman was forced by her husband's abuse and blamed herself for not being able to give birth to a son. After feeding the child, the woman hugged the child and cried. Ning Shu reached out to carry the child. The woman hugged the child tightly. She couldn't bear to part with the child. Ning Shu said, "It's better to raise your own child." The woman let go of her hand. Ning Shu carried the child and left without looking back. Behind him, the woman's suppressed crying could be heard. Ning Shu went out and saw 3 children at the door. The oldest was 6 or 7 years old, and the youngest was about 3 years old. There were indeed 3 girls. As for what happened to the child in Ning Shu's arms, the child's father didn't care. Ning Shu walked out of the house with the child in one hand and the ragged cloth sail in the other. Ning Shu took the money given by the child's mother and found an inn to stay for the night. The next day, Ning Shu carried the child out of the inn and went to the shop run by the Li family. The Li family was a big family in town. They ran a grain store and a jewelry shop. Ning Shu set up a yin gathering array around these shops. There was a yang gathering array that gathered yang energy, and there was also an inverted yin gathering array. The purpose of the yin gathering array was to gather the surrounding yin energy and destroy the luck of the shop. He also secretly placed locust trees on the roof beams. Locust trees were ghost trees. They had a lot of yin energy. One couldn't even plant locust trees in front of the house, let alone on the roof beams. Therefore, one should never offend a feng shui master or a craftsman. They could do something casually and cause bad luck for the rest of one's life. Hadn't the Wang family always boasted that they were a big family? Without the support of her husband's business, could she still be the wife of a rich family? After doing these things, Ning Shu patted the dust off his hands and turned to look at the child on his back. "Baby, now we have to find a place to settle down. Where should they go?" Ning Shu bought some dry food. He had food to eat, but what would the child on his back eat? Ning Shu expressed his annoyance. Ning Shu strolled around the market and saw a cow. After thinking about it, he decided to buy a cow. If he was tired, he could ride and milk the cow. Ning Shu picked a cow that had already given birth to a calf and went to the pharmacy to get some medicine to promote milk production. The calf had to be firm for at least 6 months. After 6 months, the child would be able to eat some supplementary food. In ancient times, cows were very expensive. Ning Shu bought a small pot to boil milk. After doing all the calculations, Ning Shu had spent almost all his savings, including the money given by the child's mother. Ning Shu drove the cow. There was a bag hanging on the cow's back. The bag was filled with all kinds of daily necessities. Ning Shu wiped his sweat. It was really not easy to raise a child. He also didn't know who to give the child to. These days, girls were not likable. Without women, humans would go extinct. The scariest thing was that as a woman, she didn't like girls. Were women really so evil? Chapter 12:24. Without a woman, the men would go and be gay. Ning Shu drove the cow. When the child was hungry, Ning Shu stopped, milked the cow, boiled the milk, and fed it to the child when it was warm. Ning Shu planned to go back to her parents' home to take a look, but she immediately gave up the idea. Why would she go back? Then where should she go next? Ning Shu suddenly thought of the old Taoist priest. No matter what, she had to go to Bai Yun Temple. Otherwise, she would be letting down the old Taoist priest's care. However, Bai Yun Temple was a little far from here. Ning Shu decided to walk slowly towards Bai Yun Temple. There was a village at the foot of Bai Yun Temple. It was quite quiet. Along the way, Ning Shu practiced medicine as she hurried. Unknowingly, she had accumulated some savings. By the time Ning Shu arrived at the foot of Bai Yun Temple, it had already been more than 2 months. Under Ning Shu's feeding, the child was already white and tender. He would even open his eyes to look at Ning Shu. He smiled subconsciously. Ning Shu entered the village and found a family to stay. She also fabricated a background for herself. Her husband was a doctor, but he was killed by bandits. Coupled with the flood in the village, she had no choice but to leave her hometown. Ning Shu even specially said that he knew some medical skills. He could treat the woman's disease and deliver a child. The owner first sympathized with Ning Shu. When he heard that Ning Shu knew how to treat gynecological diseases, he hurriedly asked Ning Shu to take a look at him. Ning Shu took the woman's pulse and prescribed some herbs that were already in the field. He asked her to pick them and boil them to drink. Ning Shu saw that the village didn't have a large population. It was surrounded by mountains with Bai Yun Temple on the mountain. It seemed that this place was full of outstanding people. Ning Shu planned to settle down here and raise the child. Ning Shu didn't know if Lu Xiaoya would blame him for having a child. He also didn't know if Lu Xiaoya would remarry. If she did, this child would be awkward. If Lu Xiaoya chose not to remarry, it would be good to have a child by her side. Most importantly, Ning Shu didn't know who to entrust this child to. Why did he always have to give her a child? Ning Shu didn't want to raise a child. But now, this child was in his hands. Ning Shu gave the child a name, Lu Jinjin. The name comes from the peach blossom of Yao Yao. Its leaves are Jinjin, lush and prosperous. Ning Shu went to find the village chief and asked him to give him a piece of land to build his house. Of course, he had to pay for the land. Ning Shu pretended to be stubborn. It took him 2 days to get the money. Most of the people in the village lived in thatched huts. Ning Shu also built a thatched hut. When in Rome, do as the Romans do. He put himself down a little so that it would be easier for him to blend in. In less than a day, Ning Shu's news spread to every family. They said that she had lost her husband and was raising her child alone. Ning Shu listened to these words. Most people sympathized with Ning Shu, but there were also people who said that widows were unlucky. Ning Shu turned a blind eye to these words. Her husband was dead, and he was thoroughly dead. Ning Shu asked the villagers to help him build his house. He would give them wages. Hearing that Ning Shu had medical skills, everyone was still very active. After all, no one could guarantee that they would not get sick. Especially here, it was a little far from the town. It was inconvenient to find a doctor. In a few days, the thatched hut was built. Ning Shu was afraid of rain leakage, so he deliberately made the thatched roof thicker. The house was built, but the house was empty. Ning Shu hired a carpenter in the village to make a simple bed and table. As for other things, he would slowly buy them. Finally, there was a prototype of a home. The ant next door gave Ning Shu some vegetables that had just been pulled from the ground. Ning Shu smiled and accepted it. It seemed that the people here were still friendly. Jinjin, now we will live here, Ning Shu said while changing the child's diaper. The child waved his hand and made a gurgling sound. He put his fist in his mouth and bit it. His saliva covered his hand. After changing the diaper, Ning Shu carried the child on his back. He loosened the soil in front of the house and surrounded it with a fence, ready to plant vegetables. Ning Shu borrowed some seeds from the ant next door and planted them in the ground. Ning Shu felt that he was really omnipotent. He could fight, he could farm, and he could also cook. Awesome! 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 When there was nothing, Ning Shu would inject a little spiritual energy into Jinjin's body, which could strengthen the child's body and make it less sick. Ning Shu's days were stable. If he was not planting vegetables to raise the child, he was going up the mountain to pick herbs. Occasionally, someone would come to Ning Shu to see a doctor, but most of them were women. If they had no money to pay the consultation fee, they would give Ning Shu a basket of vegetables or a small piece of meat. Ning Shu didn't say anything and accepted it. It didn't matter if the things were little, but he was afraid that these people would take it for granted. He still had to raise the child, so he didn't have much time to work in vain. After a while, Ning Shu became familiar with the women in the village. Every time they met, they would invite Ning Shu to go to the town together. Ning Shu bought some white paper, ink, paper, and inkstone. He took it home, cut the white paper, and sewed it with a needle. Ning Shu planned to write down some common symptoms and prescriptions. When Lu Xiaoya came back, she could rely on this to make a living. Ning Shu could gain a foothold in this village because of this skill. People eat 5 grains, it was impossible not to get sick. The village's gossipy women would talk about Ning Shu behind his back, but in front of Ning Shu, they still had to be polite. Doctors can save people, but they can also kill people. Ning Shu occasionally stared in the direction of the White Cloud Temple. He wanted to take a stroll, but he remembered that the old Taoist knew about her past. Now that her role as a widow had been deeply rooted in the hearts of the people, she had attracted a large wave of sympathy, so there was no need to break her current stable life. He had to give Lu Zhenjin a stable life. This place was not bad. There were not many people, and it was far away from the hustle and bustle. Thinking about it this way, she should have gotten rid of the Li family, and when she left, she even tricked the Li family. What made Ning Shu most satisfied was that there were many mountains and forests around, and there were rich resources. Ning Shu could occasionally hunt some rabbits to eat and get some oil to eat. Moreover, the spiritual energy was abundant, allowing Ning Shu's cultivation to go smoothly. Peace and tranquility, this should be what Lu Xiaoya wanted. He didn't have to look at other people's faces. He didn't have to be scared half to death by his ghostly husband every day, and he didn't have to tremble in fear in the Li family. The Li family's wealth was something that Lu Xiaoya couldn't enjoy. What she wanted to gain in life, she had to lose. And Lu Xiaoya's identity was so awkward, who would put her in their eyes? It was just something bought with 10 taels of silver. Ning Shu didn't find the White Cloud Temple, but the people of the White Cloud Temple came to the village. Ning Shu looked at the old Taoist with the demeanor of an immortal. The breeze blew the corner of his clothes, and he really wanted to ride the wind back. Ning Shu smiled and greeted, "Taoist priest." When the old Taoist priest saw Ning Shu, his face instantly cracked. He couldn't help but stare at Ning Shu. After a long while, he asked, "Why are you here?" Chapter 12:25. Ning Shu felt that he was quite fated with the old Taoist priest. Of course, this was only Ning Shu's own thoughts. The old Taoist priest didn't want to see Ning Shu at all. "Why are you here?" the old Taoist priest asked with a dry mouth. He hadn't forgotten that this person had lifted him up and thrown him out. "Thrown him?" Ning Shu smiled and said, "Taoist priest, have you forgotten that my husband is dead? Why don't I find another way out?" The old Taoist priest saw the child on Ning Shu's back. Where did this child come from? Ning Shu covered his mouth and laughed. "Taoist priest, you really know how to joke. I have a husband. Where do you think my child came from?" The old Taoist priest stared at the child sleeping on Ning Shu's shoulder. Of course, he could tell that this child had a mother-daughter relationship with Ning Shu, but they weren't related by blood. The old Taoist priest didn't expose Ning Shu because he was afraid that Ning Shu would throw him out in front of so many of his disciples and the villagers. "Child, your fate is full of misfortune," the old Taoist priest said. Ning Shu stared at the old Taoist priest expressionlessly. "I don't like what you're saying. Do you know how to talk? It's fine if you don't say that she's cute, but do you think it's appropriate to say such things when we meet?" "Dr. Lu, the old Taoist priest's words are very accurate," Ning Shu, the auntie next door, said. Ning Shu rolled his eyes. When the old Taoist priest saw Ning Shu, he nearly forgot his purpose for coming here. He said to the village chief, "Be careful. A snake has come out of the deep mountains. This snake is about to cultivate into a spirit. If any of you see it, quickly report it to Bai Yun Temple. This beast is extremely thick and can swallow a person in one bite." Upon hearing the old Taoist priest's words, the villagers were instantly scared pale. The village chief trembled as he pleaded the old Taoist priest, "Taoist priest, what should we do if this snake comes to the village? We will all be swallowed by the snake spirit." "It can't swallow so many people. It can swallow one person at a time," Ning Shu said. The old Taoist priest, "Village chief, that this was also very scary, okay?" The old Taoist coughed and straightened his back. He had the demeanor of an immortal and said, Snakes are afraid of realgar. You can sprinkle some realgar at home. If there are traces of a big snake, quickly come to the Baiyun Taoist temple to inform us so that we can catch it as soon as possible. Thank you, Taoist. The villagers thanked him profusely. However, Ning Shu asked the old Taoist, the snake has been staying in the deep mountains. Why did it escape? A snake as thick as this should be very conspicuous. There were spiritual creatures in the deep mountains and forests, so it was reasonable to say that snakes shouldn't run out. It was the instinct of living creatures to seek advantages and avoid disadvantages. If they went to a place with people, they would definitely be slaughtered and stewed. Animals that could survive in the jungle were not to be trifled with, but there were too many of them. Ning Shu looked at the old Taoist with disdain. She suspected that the old Taoist wanted the snake. Furthermore, the reason the snake escaped was because of the White Cloud Monastery's Taoist priests. The old Taoist priest who was being stared at by Ning Shu was speechless. This woman was really, that Taoist priest. What does the snake look like? What are its characteristics? The village had asked. The old Taoist priest flicked his horsetail whisk and said, this big python is black in color. Some of its scales have turned into gold. Its body is very big. The old Taoist priest repeatedly told the villagers that if they found the trace of the big snake, they must report it. Then he left with a group of Taoist priests. The villagers were very frightened and quickly went home to scatter realgar. The auntie next door also gave Ning Shu a pack of realgar. She let Ning Shu scatter realgar in every corner of the house. Those monsters like to eat children the most. You have to take good care of your family's Jinjin. The auntie said. After thinking for a bit, she gave Ning Shu a pack of realgar. Scatter some realgar on Jinjin's clothes. Thank you, auntie. Ning Shu took the realgar and carried Jinjin into the house. Ning Shu didn't intend to scatter the realgar powder on Jinjin's clothes. Now Jinjin grabbed something and stuffed it into her mouth. Realgar was poisonous. At night, the village was quiet, and when the sky turned dark, there was no light in the surroundings. In this village, only Ning Shu could light an oil lamp. The others went to bed as soon as the sky turned dark. Ning Shu was really not used to sleeping at 5 or 6 o'clock. He also had things to do at night. He had to deal with herbs and compile various prescriptions for various diseases. In the dead of night, Ning Shu heard the cow mooing in the cow pen. The cow was afraid and crying for help. Don't ask how Ning Shu knew, because he had gained the ability to communicate with animals. Ning Shu took the oil lamp to the cow pen. Before he entered, Ning Shu smelled a strong fishy smell. The cow shrank in the corner, her limbs were trembling and she couldn't stand. Opposite her was a coiled snake. This snake was integrated with the night. If not for Ning Shu's excellent eyesight, he wouldn't be able to see it. However, such a strong fishy smell, as long as there was no problem with his nose, he could smell it. It hissed and flicked its tongue as it stared intently at Ning Shu. Ning Shu said calmly, leave quickly. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. The people of Baiyun Temple are looking for you everywhere. To be able to cultivate to such a large size, it must have absorbed a lot of the essence of the sun and moon. Despicable two-legged monster, Ning Shu roared. He tilted his head back and made a warning gesture. Although the black snake was hissing, Ning Shu understood what it was saying. I have no ill intentions towards you. If you attack me, I'll make you suffer. Ning Shu released a dragon-shaped force. The black snake stared at the dragon in a daze. How can it be a dragon? Are you a dragon? Leave quickly. Return to the mountain, Ning Shu said. It was not easy for mountain spirits and demons to cultivate. A group of two-legged monsters are chasing me, Ning Shu said. Why? They definitely want my snake pearl, saying that they want to refine pills. Then the black snake looked at Ning Shu with vigilance. You also want my snake pearl? Ning Shu rolled his eyes. Who cares? It was probably just a finger-sized monster core. Okay, you can leave. Ning Shu waved his hand. This cow is my daughter's food. If you touch this cow, I'll cut open your stomach. The black snake did not speak. The black snake slowly crawled away and disappeared into the night. Ning Shu comforted the cow with a few words and returned to the room with the oil lamp. Ning Shu closed the door and prepared to look at Jinjin on the bed. As a result, a huge black snake was entrenched on the side of the bed. It propped up its body and looked at Jinjin, who was sleeping on the bed and didn't know anything. Ning Shu's heart was burning with anger. This thing was also coveting his daughter. Ning Shu's chi sank into his dantian and kicked the big snake's head. The big snake's head hit the ground. Ning Shu picked up Jinjin and stared at the somewhat dizzy big snake. "I'll let you go, but you still want to eat my daughter," Ning Shu coldly said. "No, I just think she looks cute." Ning Shu, in the room, the light was bright. Ning Shu saw that the big snake had 4 bumps on its abdomen. Even its forehead had a bulging bump. Could it be that this snake was going to turn into a flood dragon? Horns grew on its head and claws grew on its abdomen. Snake turning into a flood dragon turning into a dragon. Chapter 12:26. A big snake was lying in the room, and the smell was very strong. Ning Shu looked at it. "Hurry up, you scared my baby." The big snake's tail swept, and Ning Shu's table was overturned. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean it." The big black snake quickly apologized. "You'd better hurry up and leave." Ning Shu said, "If you stay here for a long time, the people of Baiyun Taoist Temple will come and take your snake pearl for alchemy. I don't know where to go, they destroyed my nest. What does it have to do with me?" Ning Shu was quite indifferent. "Big snake, 2-legged monster." The big snake, Ning Shu shouted. "Ning Shu, who are you calling?" "I'm going to lay an egg." "Ning Shu, are you a female?" "After laying an egg, I will become very weak, and I have no way to deal with those 2-legged monsters." Speaking of which, snakes were also very miserable. Molting and giving birth would weaken their strength. Only by really evolving into a flood dragon could they get rid of this shackle. "Do you want to steam the snake eggs for me to eat?" Ning Shu held Jinjin and didn't dare to put her down. He was afraid that if he didn't pay attention, he would be swallowed by the big snake. Ning Shu pointed to the big snake. "It's best not to swallow people. At that time, don't talk about being a flood dragon, even being a snake is impossible." Human beings were a race with great luck. If the big snake swallowed people, she would suffer. The big snake made an "oh" sound, and its thick tail swept. It seemed to be very embarrassed. "Can you take me in and let me give birth to a baby?" "No, I refuse." Was she going to be a midwife again? She had crossed races, and now she had to deliver a baby for a snake? She was afraid that the last delivery would happen again, and a nest of snake eggs would be given to her. "It's going to be dawn, let's go quickly." Ning Shu yawned. "2-legged monster, I can't run far. I'm going to give birth, can you give me a place?" "I'll leave after giving birth." Ning Shu rolled his eyes. "I know this trick. After giving birth, you have to hatch the eggs, hatch a small snake, and take a lot of children with you. There's no way to leave." The snake was speechless. The serpent had no choice. It was not easy to meet someone who was not afraid of her. If he appeared elsewhere, it would definitely cause a commotion. Her cultivation and the child in her womb were about to be destroyed. Ning Shu was more concerned about something else. "You already have a baby. You should have a husband, right? Your husband should be like you, right?" "What is a husband?" Orochi asked curiously. Ning Shu, "Then how did you get pregnant?" Ning Shu asked. "When it reaches the estrus period, it will mate with the male snake and then it will lay eggs," the big snake said. In order not to show that he was ignorant, Ning Shu was very calm. "There's a cellar. You can hide in the cellar." "Thank you. I will repay you in the future." "Forget it. Just don't stare at my baby every day." The serpent complimented. "Your child is very cute." She looked very delicious. The serpent crawled on the ground, out of the room, and into the cellar. Ning Shu put down Jinjin in his arms and gently patted her chest. Then he opened the windows to disperse the smell in the room. After dawn, Ning Shu caught a chicken and went to the cellar to take a look. As soon as he opened it, there was a strong smell. Ning Shu waved his hand and stepped on the ladder to go down. "Here you go." Ning Shu put the chicken on the ground. The big snake swallowed the chicken in one bite. I think I'm going to give birth. My belly hurts a little. Ning Shu stretched out his hand and touched her belly. There was a bulging place. Ning Shu had no experience in delivering a snake, so he could only say, "It should be." "Dr. Lu, Dr. Lu." The ant next door shouted. Ning Shu came out of the cellar holding a cabbage and asked, "What's wrong, Aunt?" The Taoist priest came again. The village chief asked people to gather at the village entrance, the ant said. Ning Shu put down the cabbage and followed the villagers to the village entrance with Zhinzhin on his back. The old Taoist priest was still immortal and asked the village chief, "Did no one see the snake?" "The village is very calm. I guess the big snake has already left," the village chief said with some uncertainty. The old Taoist priest wrinkled his white eyebrows. "It shouldn't be. This big snake has been forced to come to this village by them. Why didn't it appear?" The old Taoist priest saw Ning Shu coming towards him from the corner of his eye. His eyelids jumped and he couldn't help but straighten his chest. "What's the smell on your body?" As soon as Ning Shu came closer, the old Taoist priest smelled a fishy smell. Ning Shu raised his hand and smelled it. "You said this smell. Last night, a snake wanted to eat my cow, but I beat it away." The old Taoist priest. The surrounding villagers stared at Ning Shu in amazement. "You beat the snake away?" the ant next door asked in surprise. "Then last night, why didn't I hear any movement?" "I know Kung Fu." The old Taoist priest Ning Shu raised his eyebrows. This, the Taoist priest should know. The old Taoist priest almost rolled his eyes. "Where did the snake go?" the old Taoist priest asked. Ning Shu shook his head. "I don't know. Maybe it ran to your Taoist temple." The ant next door, Ning Shu, asked, "Dr. Lu, you know Kung Fu, how could your husband be killed by bandits?" The old Taoist priest looked at Ning Shu. Ning Shu calmly said, "When I found my husband, he was already rotten." The old Taoist priest. The old Taoist priest took people back to Baiyun Taoist temple and repeatedly told the villagers that if they encountered a snake, they should quickly inform them. Otherwise, they deserved to be swallowed by the snake. After the old Taoist priest left, Ning Shu and his group also went back. Ning Shu asked them whether they saw the big snake. Ning Shu only said that it was too dark and he didn't see it clearly. Ning Shu walked to the courtyard and heard some movement in the cellar. Ning Shu hurriedly went down the cellar. He saw the big snake tossing and turning on the ground, looking like it was in pain. It looked like it was about to give birth. Ning Shu went out to find some withered grass and placed it in the cellar. "Lower your voice. Are you trying to attract people here?" "I'm in pain." "How painful can it be to lay an egg? Don't snakes have two dicks?" "When they mate, it hurts too," Ning Shu said. The big snake was in pain for a long time before it finally produced a fist-sized egg. Since it was the first to lay, the rest was much smoother. The big snake laid 3 eggs and its head lay on the ground, looking exhausted. Ning Shu looked at the eggs and really wanted to make stewed eggs. However, the snake eggs probably smelled fishy, so Ning Shu gave up. Ning Shu placed the snake eggs on the withered grass. "When will this egg hatch? If the villagers know that there's a snake in my house, I'll probably be chased out." Dangerous things had to be chased out. The big snake said, "It will take some time." Ning Shu. He knew it was trouble. "When you get better, you can leave with your balls in your mouth. Those people from Baiyun Taoist temple will find you again," Ning Shu said in a bad mood. She went out of the cellar and got a chicken for the snake. He didn't even pluck the feathers. The big snake swallowed the chicken and said, "I can leave after resting for another day." Chapter 12:27. After giving birth, the snake had rested enough. She held the egg in her mouth and dragged her huge body away in the dark. Ning Shu heaved a sigh of relief. She was finally gone. He was always worried about being discovered. He hoped that she could survive the lightning tribulation and evolve into a flood dragon. It was all for the sake of being stronger and better alive. He really couldn't stand such a spiritual object next time. Ning Shu thought that the snake had escaped, but in less than 2 days, she was caught by the people of Baiyun Temple. And her stomach was cut open. The villagers swarmed to Baiyun Temple to see the snake. The snake's corpse was hung on a tree. Its body was extremely thick. The bulging part of its abdomen had been cut open with a knife, revealing its tender snow-white claws. The Taoist priest of Baiyun Temple pointed at the snake's corpse and said that the snake was about to transform into a flood dragon. When the time came, it would spit out clouds and flood. Ning Shu sneered. A flood dragon didn't have such great ability. It was just an excuse for its ambition. When humans compared themselves to something stronger, they would either revere it, such as the gods, or destroy it. Ning Shu sighed and rolled his eyes at the old Taoist priest standing at the entrance of the Three Pure Hall. This old Taoist priest was the most merciless person Ning Shu had ever seen. He had a sage-like demeanor. It was more like the style of cultivators. As long as it was beneficial to them, they would plunder it. There were some eggshells on the ground. The yolk and egg white were shattered. The world was too dangerous. It was either a natural disaster or a war. The snake was also very miserable because someone wanted her snake pearl. Ning Shu saw that one of the eggs only had a small crack on it, and egg clear was flowing out. Ning Shu picked it up. "Dr. Lu, what are you doing?" asked the woman next door, Ning Shu. Ning Shu smiled. "I haven't eaten a snake egg yet. I'll take it back and eat it." "It's better not to eat it. Look at how scary this snake is. Something might happen if you eat her child." Ning Shu held the egg and injected some spirit energy into it. After leaving Baiyun Taoist Temple, Ning Shu covered the egg with fluffy soil and covered it with some leaves and withered grass. Maybe it would hatch, maybe it wouldn't. Ning Shu took Xinjin home. Now, Lu Xinjin could turn over a new leaf. She often smiled at Ning Shu, revealing her pink gums. When Ning Shu had nothing to do, he would carry her up the mountain to pick herbs. When he picked a herb, he would tell Xinjin the name of the herb. Xinjin didn't know anything, she just giggled. Ning Shu felt that such a life was simple but sufficient. Not everyone wanted to experience such a soul-stirring life like the wind and rain. Now, Xinjin could eat some supplementary food. Ning Shu caught a pheasant, went home, chopped it into minced meat and boiled it in the porridge. Xinjin was very healthy. From time to time, Ning Shu would inject some spiritual energy into her body. She ate well and slept well. It made Xinjin's body very sturdy. Ning Shu carried the basket and walked to the door of his house. He met the village chief who was in a hurry. "Dr. Lu, quickly go and take a look. Someone in my family is injured," the village chief said anxiously. Ning Shu put down the basket and carried Xinjin to the village chief's house. Before entering the house, Ning Shu smelled the smell of blood. "Dr. Lu, quickly go in and take a look," the village chief Ning Shu said. Ning Shu frowned, opened the curtain and went in. There was a woman wearing armor in the room. On the bed, there was a man wearing the same armor. "Are you a doctor?" The woman deliberately lowered her voice and said in a rough voice. Ning Shu couldn't help but pull the corner of his mouth. A woman dressed as a man was fine. Short, small frame, no Adam's apple, delicate skin and tender flesh. People who didn't know that she was a woman were blind. "Then you take a look at the general," the woman said. Ning Shu walked over and sat on the bed to take the man's pulse. "He is very hungry. Prepare something for him to eat," Ning Shu said. "I'll trouble the village chief," the woman quickly said to the village chief. The village chief nodded. Ning Shu took the man's pulse for a while. The woman was worried and asked, "How is the general?" "The symptoms are a bit strange. The wounds on his body will be fine after applying some medicine," Ning Shu said. "I want to ask, why hasn't the general woken up yet?" The woman was so anxious that her face turned red. Aren't you a doctor? How come you don't know?" The woman angrily and anxiously said, tears rolling in her eyes. "Ning Shu, I fainted from hunger." The woman's tears completely fell down. "The general shouldn't have given me all the food." Ning Shu was more curious about how a woman sneaked into the army. Could it be that Hua Mulan joined the army? How could the general, who was originally in the barracks, come here? Could it be that here was close to the border? Lu Xiaoya was just a drop in the ocean in this world. She knew nothing about the outside world. Ning Shu didn't expect that he would encounter such a combination. "Why you here?" Ning Shu asked. The woman wiped the tears off her face. "The general was ambushed by the enemy." "Then the enemy followed you?" Ning Shu asked. The woman nodded. "Perhaps we will have to leave soon. The general is the god of war who founded the country. He cannot die." How did the god of war end up like this? Ning Shu suddenly realized something. If there were enemies tracking them, their village would be in trouble. He didn't believe that the enemy wouldn't wantonly slaughter the enemy's citizens. They would torture anyone they captured and force them to reveal the whereabouts of the escapees. Ning Shu couldn't help but sigh. It wasn't easy for him to find a place with beautiful scenery. Your general was poisoned. Not only was he poisoned, but he was also inflicted with ague. Ning Shu said. The woman was dumbfounded. How did this happen? Ning Shu said, "You should go to Baiyun Temple." Baiyun Temple just caught a large snake that was about to transform into a flood dragon. If you eat the snake's gallbladder, it might be able to detoxify the poison. Finally, the Baiyun Temple's master has a way. The village chief came in and said, "Moreover, the Baiyun Temple's master is a very capable person. Some time ago, he caught a large snake. That snake was very big and even grew claws." The woman's eyes flashed with a burning light. "Really?" "Of course, everyone in the village knows." The village chief said. He went out to see if his wife had finished preparing the meal. Ning Shu frowned. If the snake gallbladder could detoxify the poison, the large snake would die. Ning Shu stared at the man with purple lips on the bed. Such a coincidence. It seemed like it was because of the man on the bed. "That's great." The woman's eyes flashed with a burning light. Ning Shu asked, "Where is Baiyun Temple?" "Later, let the village chief take you there." Ning Shu stood up. Zhenzhen grabbed his hair until it hurt. "No matter what, thank you," the woman said. She took out a bead and gave it to Ning Shu. "This is your reward." This bead was bigger than a man's thumb. It was pink in color and round in shape. At a glance, it was a very precious thing. Wasn't this too expensive? She had only taken a pulse. Chapter 12:28. This is a pearl, I'll give it to you as a reward. The woman's eyes stared at the pearl and finally moved away. It seemed that this woman also liked the pearl very much, so why did he give it to her? Ning Shu looked down at the pearl in the palm of his hand and returned it to her. "No, I didn't do anything, you don't have to give me a reward." "You keep it just?" The woman saw Zhenzhen on Ning Shu's back. "Just think of it as a gift from me to this child." She gave such a precious thing to a total stranger. The quality of this thing was so good, the tribute was just SOSO. How many pearl divers dived into the water again and again for a perfect pearl? Just for a good quality pearl. Ning Shu never believed that a pie would fall from the sky. "I don't want it, I don't want it." Ning Shu returned the pearl to the woman and left. The woman looked surprised. The village chief gave her a bowl of porridge with some wild vegetables in it. The woman didn't dislike it and took the bowl and gave the pearl to the village chief, saying that it was a reward. The village chief had never seen such a round and big pearl. He wiped his hand on his clothes, thanked her again and again, and put the pearl away. If he could have such a pearl, he would be rich. Ning Shu went out of the village chief's house and said to Zhenzhen on his back, "There is no place in this world that is truly peaceful and peaceful." In such a remote place, there was a country's god of war. The god of war was like that. Was the name of the god of war really not an undeserved reputation? It was a pity about the big snake. Maybe if he didn't let her get lost, maybe she wouldn't have died. At that time, he felt that in any case, she was a big snake that could transform into a flood dragon, so she wouldn't die so easily. As a result, she immediately gave Ning Shu a slap in the face. Ning Shu thought about whether he should change to another place to live. The more Ning Shu thought about it, the more he felt that the big snake provided a snake gallbladder for that man. Ning Shu. Back at home, Ning Shu put Zhenzhen on the bed and touched her face. "Let's go travel. Come, wander, anyway there are a lot of directions." Ning Shu suspected that this man and woman were the protagonists. share trials and tribulations together, see the true feelings. Come look. Anyway, there's a lot of foolishness. The woman planned to carry the general to Bai Yun Taoist temple. Village chief had just received such a good pearl and immediately asked the strong men in the village to carry the general to Bai Yun Taoist temple. Not long after the woman and the general left, a group of people arrived at the village. These people's faces were engraved with complicated and unknown patterns, making their faces look somewhat ferocious. As soon as he entered the village, he spoke in stiff Mandarin. Where did the two people from before go? They went to Bai Yun Taoist temple, the villager said. Don't expect these villagers to risk their lives for someone they don't know. The leader's face twitched, causing the patterns on his face to twist. High priest, capture a villager and bring us to Bai Yun Taoist temple, someone said. The high priest in the lead closed his eyes for a moment before opening them and heading towards the village chief's house. Ning Shu hugged the child and looked at the people with colorful faces. Who are these people? Seeing that they were heading towards the village head's house, Ning Shu also followed. Many villagers also followed to watch the fun. When the high priest saw the village chief, he immediately grabbed his neck. The village chief was dumbfounded. The high priest said coldly, "Hand over the shark pearl." The village chief didn't know what a shark pearl was. With his neck being grabbed, his face was extremely red. "High priest, he can't speak like this," someone beside him reminded. The high priest opened his hand and the village chief fell to the ground, coughing violently. The person beside the high priest said to the village chief, "The shark pearl is a pearl. Hand it over or you can wait for death." Under the threat of death, the village chief instantly thought of the pearl that the soldier had given him. He crawled out of the house and took out the pearl. "This is it. I only have this pearl," the village chief said while trembling. "High priest." The man called the high priest nodded. The man immediately took the pearl. "I finally found the shark pearl." Ning Shu narrowed his eyes. "Shark pearl? Wasn't this pearl given to him by the woman from before? That woman was probably trying to divert trouble. Did the shark pearl belong to a merman? Ning Shu, were there still mermen in this world? Don't lie to me, high priest, we only haven't found the spirit stone. The person who founded the country is too despicable. He stole our things. That person was poisoned by the high priest. The high priest was able to track him down. The high priest is still capable." Before this person finished speaking, the expression of the person called the high priest changed. Of course, one couldn't see the expression on such a gaudy face. Instead, his face was trembling. Finally, he spat out a mouthful of blood. "High priest?" The people beside her supported her nervously. The high priest said, "The mother Gu can't sense the other party's presence. The child Gu is dead." Where is the White Cloud Temple? Bring us there quickly, the man said to the village chief. The village chief was frightened by these people and quickly nodded. Follow me." These people quickly flew towards the White Cloud Temple. Ning Shu thought about it and followed them because she heard about the Spirit Stone. Could the Spirit Stone be a boundary stone? She didn't expect those two people to have such good things with them. These people obviously didn't find anything. When they arrived at the White Cloud Temple, they had already left. "High priest, if we continue walking, we will reach the heart of the country. It's very disadvantageous for us." The high priest snorted. "These thieves stole our clan's treasure. Without the protection of the Spirit Stone, our clansmen suffered great harm." The high priest was so angry that her face was trembling. They purposely left behind the shark pearl and took away the more precious Spirit Stone. They are too cunning. Ning Shu listened to these people and felt that she had missed out on something. What was the Spirit Stone? Was it a boundary stone? Looking at them, they should be very concerned about the Spirit Stone. Was it possible for her to obtain a Spirit Stone? Ning Shu's heart felt like it was being scratched by a cat. "High priest, should we continue to chase?" The high priest looked at the sky with melancholy. "I can't sense their location now. The Gu is already dead." Ning Shu was speechless. That woman wanted to lead the disaster to the west. Ning Shu also wanted to lead the disaster to the White Cloud Temple. She didn't expect that the old man would really solve the problem. What could anyone say about this? If she had known, she would have let the two of them stay here. She reckoned that she wouldn't have been able to keep them here. If they knew that someone was following them, how could they stay in one place for long? She watched helplessly as a treasure slipped away in front of her eyes. It really hurt. She didn't know what was good for her, but 2333 didn't know either? Why wasn't 2333 doing anything? Ning Shu calmed herself down and waited to see what these people would do. If they continued to chase, Ning Shu also planned to follow and take a look. High Priest, it's not too late to chase now. The people beside her advised that Xian Yuanhao's martial arts are unparalleled. If the poison is cured, we might not be able to defeat him. Someone said. Chapter 1229. These people with tattoos on their faces couldn't make up their minds. If they continued to chase, they might not be able to catch up. If they found Xian Yuanhao, they might not be able to defeat him. Once they reached a city, Xian Yuanhao would be able to mobilize the local authorities. But if they didn't chase, they would lose the spirit stones and their entire race would be exterminated. The high priest's face was extremely distorted. Chase. The group of people hurriedly ran. Ning Shu immediately followed. These people seemed to be proficient in tracking techniques. They followed the traces of trees and leaves. Ning Shu felt that these people should be living in the mountain forest and had a way to track their prey. Tenshin, don't cry. Ning Shu calmed his dantian and walked as if he was walking on flat ground. It wasn't that bumpy. In the face of genocide, these people moved quickly and quickly found the two people. The war god and the small soldier were eating barbecued meat. Ning Shu hid at the side and watched. After washing himself clean, Xian Yuanhao looked like a handsome tree in the wind with a powerful aura. The more he looked, the more Ning Shu looked like the main character. The high priest coldly looked at Xian Yuanhao. Give me the spirit stones. Xian Yuanhao stood up. Good things belong to those who are capable. Your Shi clan only has a few hundred people. With the spirit stones in my hands, I can protect so many people in the Li country. Your Li country is human, but my people aren't. Your Li country can live without spirit stones, but my people will die without spirit stones. The high priest's face was distorted. Ning Shu couldn't help but scratch his head. These spirit stones were so important? Your Shi clan can't bask in the sun. You can live underground and come out at night. The armored woman said. Ning Shu blinked. What kind of illness was it that couldn't bask in the sun? He reckoned that this group of people lacked the genes to resist ultraviolet rays. Hearing this, Ning Shu could basically confirm that the spirit stones were boundary stones. These people must be living under the enchantment. Are you willing to live underground? One of the people beside the high priest said fiercely. The armored woman put her hands on her waist and charmingly said, It's not like I can't bask in the sun. Ning Shu was convinced by this logic. The high priestess stared at Xian Yuanhao. Return the spirit stones to me, and I won't care about anything else. But if you really want to do this, then we can only fight to the death. Xian Yuanhao didn't care about the high priest's words. He stretched out his bony hand and straightened his sleeve. Things like spirit stones shouldn't be something that you people can have. The patterns on the high priest's face wriggled. So you're not returning it to us? I only took your things and didn't hurt your people. If it was someone from the imperial court, they would have definitely sent troops to surround and annihilate your village. Xian Yuanhao said. I only took your things and didn't hurt you. Instead, it was you who poisoned me. Don't feel wronged. A man's wealth is his own ruin. Ning Shu was speechless. Ning Shu nodded. It seemed that Xian Yuanhao was quite benevolent. What the hell? After snatching something, he had to convince you wholeheartedly. Ning Shu squatted at the side and swatted the mosquito on his foot. Since the two sides didn't agree, they naturally started fighting. What surprised Ning Shu was that the skinny little girl actually knew martial arts. But it wasn't that profound. She could deal with one or two people at once. Ning Shu felt very conflicted. Which side should she help now? Or should she join in the fight and fight the three sides together? Xian Yuanhao's martial arts were indeed very high. Basically, everyone was besieging Xian Yuanhao. But Xian Yuanhao was calm and composed. It didn't seem like it was strenuous at all. His martial arts were indeed high. Ning Shu picked up a stone by his foot. He wrapped it in his qi and threw it at Xian Yuanhao. Xian Yuanhao turned around and stretched out his hand. He directly shattered the stone that Ning Shu threw into powder. Ning Shu was speechless. He always met awesome people with cheats. Damn it. Xian Yuanhao coldly shouted. Ning Shu directly picked up a large stone and threw it at Xian Yuanhao. Xian Yuanhao still split the stone with his palm. He stared at Ning Shu. "For you." "Ah, it's you." The armored girl looked at Ning Shu. "This matter has nothing to do with you. It's best if you don't interfere. This matter isn't something a commoner like you can interfere with." "Little Ku, who is this person?" Xian Yuanhao asked the girl. "She's a villager from the village below Bai Yun Temple. She even took your pulse before," Little Ku said. "Her skills don't seem like an ordinary village woman." The high priest and his group also looked at Ning Shu cautiously. Ning Shu said, "I'm just passing by. You should return the spirit stones to them. Hundreds of lives. Since you're a war god, you must be able to use soldiers like a god. Do you still need spirit stones?" Ning Shu said casually. "Then what about the millions of people who founded the country?" Little Ku said. "Then should they be sacrificed?" Ning Shu asked back. "Sacrificing a few to save the many. You have to ask if they are willing to sacrifice." Little Ku said, "You don't know how hard the general worked for the sake of the people who founded the country. Little girl, you must be a die-hard fan of your general." Ning Shu said with a smile. "What little girl? Who are you calling little girl? I'm just a little small, but I'm still a man." Ning Shu was speechless. Was she blind, or were the others blind? Sure enough, for the sake of the plot, she was blind. Ning Shu couldn't help but ask Xian Yuanhao, "Do you think she's a girl or a boy?" "Of course I believe in Little Ku. Although Little Ku's body is a little thin, I'm still a man." Ning Shu nodded. "As long as you're happy." The high priest Ning Shu said, "You're right. Our people are content with our territory and have never thought of harming others." "That's right. It's already so difficult for us to live." The person beside the high priest said. "What does this have to do with you? Think before you act. The general is not only a war god, he's also a king. You're just a village woman with a child. Think carefully about everything." Little Ku said. Ning Shu's face was expressionless. "Are you threatening me?" "No, I'm just used to it. I'm a strategist. I like to think about all kinds of problems." Little Ku said. "A female strategist. A love story between a general and a strategist." Xian Yuanhao didn't say much, but his attitude was firm. It was obvious that he didn't want to hand over the spirit stone. The high priest said, "This is already the last spiritual stone. If there are any extra spiritual stones, we'll just swallow them. Without the spirit stone, our people will die." Ning Shu sighed. It seemed that she couldn't get the spirit stone. If she really did, she would have to shoulder the responsibility of hundreds of lives. Damn, Ning Shu couldn't shoulder such a huge responsibility. But the spirit stone was such a treasure. If even 2333 coveted it, Ning Shu coveted it even more. A world that could be built sturdily could prevent the world from being damaged and eroded. This was a good thing. Chapter 12:30. Sister-in-law, thank you for speaking up for justice. The high priest Ning Shu cupped his hands. "I'm actually not even 15 yet." Ning Shu said quietly. The high priest was silent for a moment. "You gave birth quite early." "General?" Xiao Ke looked at Xian Yuanhao. "What should we do now?" "The easiest way is to kill all of them," Xian Yuanhao said. Xiao Ke nodded. This time, Xian Yuanhao brought out his true strength and killed a person with a single slap. "I see. Xian Yuanhao." The high priest stared at Xian Yuanhao. "You killed my people." Both sides were on the verge of exploding as they fought with all their might. Ning Shu directly held Xiao Ke hostage. Xiao Ke had some martial arts but couldn't compare to Ning Shu. Hand over the thing or I'll strangle her to death. Ning Shu grabbed Xiao Ke's neck. Let go of Xiao Ke. Shen Yuanhao anxiously shouted at Ning Shu. Give me the thing and I'll let her go. Ning Shu lifted his chin and said, General, don't worry about me. You can't give the spirit stone to her. Xiao Ke sadly shouted, Don't worry about me. The spirit stone is the most important. Ning Shu. This time, she was really playing the role of an evil female supporting character. Let go of Xiao Ke and I'll give it to you. Shen Yuanhao took out a palm-sized stone. This stone was relatively thick and completely black. It wasn't even as big as Li Sanlang's memorial tablet. General, don't be like this. We worked so hard to find this thing. Don't give it to her because of me. Xiao Ke anxiously said. At the same time, she was very moved. For her, the general handed over the spirit stone. Give it to her. Ning Shu lifted his chin in the direction of the high priest. Shen Yuanhao calmly threw the stone to the high priest. The high priest quickly caught it. High priest, is this true? It's true, it's true. The high priest held the stone to her chest and let out a long sigh of relief. Great, we found the spirit stone. Shen Yuanhao's face was ashen. Ning Shu gritted his teeth and said, Can you let go of Xiao Ke now? Ning Shu grabbed Coco's neck and retreated. He said to the high priestess, Hurry up and leave. Sister-in-law, thank you. The high priest ran off with his men. Ning Shu, wait for me. Let's go together. You short-sighted village woman, do you know how many people die at the border every day? So many soldiers have been buried at the border. So many mothers and wives are waiting for their sons and husbands to return. Do you know what you are doing? With spirit stones, how many lives can be saved? The country relies on these soldiers to protect it, Xiao Ke said in a sharp voice. Soldiers protecting their country is their responsibility. War is the ambition of those in power. Don't make it sound so noble, Ning Shu said indifferently. The sound of a leader's voice is his duty in his position. You're so cold-blooded, Coco said angrily. I am that cold-blooded, Ning Shu said shamelessly. Little girl, which family's young miss are you? Ning Shu grabbed her neck and asked, Does your family know that you joined the army? Could it be that women in this world can join the army? I don't know what you're talking about. Are you blind? Why do you insist that I'm a woman? Coco said angrily. She looked at Shen Yuanhao. General, don't listen to her nonsense. I'm not a woman, I'm a man. I'm with you every day. You should know that. Ning Shu rolled his eyes again and again. Ning Shu saw that time was running out and pushed Coco towards Shen Yuanhao. Shen Yuanhao quickly hugged Coco. Ning Shu sent out a palm attack. The palm energy went straight toward Jinjin, who was behind Ning Shu. Ning Shu turned around and released his dragon-shaped energy. The dragon-shaped energy collided with the palm energy and made a loud sound. Ning Shu held Jinjin in his arms and then followed the trail to catch up with the high priest group. The high priest turned his head and saw Ning Shu. Why are you here? I offended Shen Yuanhao. If I don't run, what else can I do? Ning Shu said. The high priest nodded. That's true. This time, I have to thank you. If it wasn't for you, we wouldn't have been able to get the spirit stones back. Aren't you afraid that I'll steal your spirit stones? Ning Shu said with a smile. The high priest quickly covered his chest and looked at Ning Shu with vigilance. You also came for the spirit stones. Ning Shu's mouth twitched. He felt that these people were really easy to fool. I have nowhere to go now, so I'll go with you. It's not easy for a widow to raise a child. Ning Shu looked at the high priest. Can you take me in? The high priest nodded without hesitation. Sure. This time, we have to thank you for helping us get the spirit stones. Otherwise, the people in our village wouldn't have lived long. Ning Shu returned to the village and took the medical book he had written. He then went to the cow pen to lead the cow. Let's go quickly. Otherwise, Shen Yuanhao will chase after us. But it's a bit slow to lead a cow. The high priest looked at the cow and said with some worry. Ning Shu patted the cow. Run, The cow let out a cry and began to run happily. High priest, everyone hurried on their way. Along the way, Ning Shu came in contact with these people and found that this group of people was really quite simple. It was estimated that they rarely came in contact with the outside world. They were so simple that Ning Shu was embarrassed to joke. It was obviously a joke, but they actually took it seriously. On the way, Ning Shu occasionally stopped to boil milk for Jinjin. These people didn't wash their faces for several days. The high priest explained that these herbs could resist the damage of the sun. Once their people basked in the sun, their bodies would be damaged. Ning Shu had never heard of such a problem. Ning Shu stretched out his hand to take the high priest's pulse. Did his body have any defects? Ning Shu took his pulse. His body was healthy and normal. Ning Shu always felt that these people were just imagining things. They always felt that, I can't bask in the sun. If I bask in the sun, my body hurts and I feel like I'm going to die. Their bodies formed a conditioned reflex. There's nothing wrong with it. Ning Shu withdrew his hand and said. The high priest shook his head. Children will die after basking in the sun for a few days. Ning Shu, What is that shark pearl? Ning Shu asked. It should be the inner core of a merman. After all, there were ghosts, snakes, and mermen in this world. Ning Shu wasn't surprised at all. It was true. It's the inner core of a type of fish in the sea. It's a sea demon. The high priest said. Ning Shu nodded. How many pieces of this spirit stone are there? This stone was originally one piece, but it was damaged by someone and a piece was stolen. Now, there's only this small piece left. The high priest said whatever he wanted to say. And it's someone from the village. Sigh. From the looks of it, Li Sanlang's memorial tablet was leaked from the hands of these people. Maybe someone sold it to the Li family. Ning Shu stayed in the Li family for a while and didn't notice any experts in the Li family. Ning Shu fed the cold milk to Jinjin. Jinjin, who was full, looked at these people curiously. Ning Shu was actually curious about the high priest's goo and how to make it. Ning Shu asked the high priest for advice. The high priest didn't hide and told Ning Shu how to make the goo. Chapter 12:31. Goo worms were ever-changing, evolving into all kinds of goo worms. There were insects, animals, and even plants. Golden toad goo, just imagining those goo worms breaking out of the body was simply terrifying. Ning Shu really wanted to learn. Learning how to make goo worms was a skill that could be used in the future. Even if he couldn't get the spirit stones, he had to gain something. These people lived deep in the mountains. There were many animals, plants, and all kinds of poisonous things that gave birth to goo worms. The high priest sighed. Looks like we have to move when we go back. We can't live in that place anymore. Our ancestors have lived there for generations. We can't find a more suitable place. Ning Shu comforted. There will be a place to live. Ning Shu felt that the people in this village were lacking something. Maybe their bodies lacked some trace elements, so they were afraid of the sun. Could they be zombies? However, these people didn't look like walking corpses. Wouldn't they lack calcium if they didn't bask in the sun? If they lived with these people, would they also become like that? Ning Shu was speechless as he thought about it. They didn't dare to stay for long and rushed back to the village. Everyone in this village lived deep in the mountains and forests, and they cultivated a village in a place. It was broad daylight, and no one in the village was wandering outside. The high priest explained, without the protection of the spirit stones, the villagers don't dare to come out. The high priest came to a place that looked like an ancestral temple. There was a stone statue in the ancestral temple, and the carving was very rough. Ning Shu couldn't tell what it was at all. It looked like a person. There was a depression in the body of the stone statue, and the high priest placed the spirit stones in the depression. Ning Shu felt the ancestral temple become cold, without the warmth of the sun. Ning Shu came out of the ancestral temple and looked up at the sky. Even the sunlight wasn't glaring, as if it was blocked by an invisible layer. This was a barrier. Ning Shu looked at the stone statue. How could this stone statue make the barrier stone release a barrier? There were too many unsolved mysteries in the world, and many things could not be explained. This stone statue is an expert. This expert gave us a chance of survival, allowing us to live under the sun without being harmed by the sun. The high priest placed the mermaid pearl in the depression on the wall, then knelt on the ground and kowtowed to the stone statue. The high priest is back. The high priest is back. The villagers hiding in their houses felt that the sunlight was blocked. They all came out of their houses and began to sing and dance. The villagers who followed the high priest out washed off the patterns on their faces, revealing pale faces. Their faces were red and white from the sun's burns, as if they were seriously ill. Ning Shu couldn't help but wonder if it was really that serious. If they were albinos, they didn't see these people with snow-white skin. The villagers' skin color was very normal. The high priest gathered the villagers and said, "We are going to move now." The one who stole the spirit stones was the general who founded the country. When the time comes, they will lead the army to attack us. How could this be? I don't want to leave this place. The high priest's expression was a little pained. After returning to the village, the high priest washed his face clean. The high priest was older than Ning Shu had imagined. In order to survive, we have to move. Everyone, go back and pack your things. Don't bring too many things, or it will affect the speed of the journey. The high priest waved his hand and said, "Go back and pack your things." Then, "High priest, where are we moving to?" "Let's move first and settle down when we find a suitable place." "In short, we have to leave this place and avoid the town," the high priest said. Some people couldn't help but wipe their tears. Moving was simply a narrow escape for them. On the way, the sun would shine on them, and they might even die on the way. After the high priest finished speaking, Ning Shu coughed and said, "Actually, there is another way. We don't have to move." "What is it?" the high priest asked. Unless it was a last resort, the high priest wouldn't let the entire village move. Ning Shu said, "Give me your mermaid pearl. This will be the eye of the array. We can set up an array and set up a concealment spell." "Will this work?" the high priest asked uncertainly. Ning Shu said calmly, "Other than this, you can only move. I heard that your children might die from exposure to the sun. If your children die, your clan might really be wiped out. Give me the mermaid pearl. If it doesn't work, we'll talk about it," Ning Shu said. The high priest hesitated for a while, but in the end he went to the ancestral temple to get the pearl and gave it to Ning Shu. Ning Shu cast a spell and asked the villagers to help move the stones. She set up a huge array to hide the entire village so that outsiders couldn't see it. At the same time, she set up an 8 trigrams array around the village to make people get lost and not be able to reach the village. She made use of trees and stones. It took Ning Shu a lot of effort to do these things. He had used up all his life skills. The high priest asked uncertainly, "This will do. We won't be able to see it." The word "unreliable" was almost written on the high priest's face. "Even I would get lost in the surrounding array." "High priest, I'll bring you out to take a look." Ning Shu led the high priest out of the village. They turned left and right, making the high priest dizzy. "It's so difficult to walk. What about the people in the village who go out to hunt?" the high priest asked. They spent most of their time in the village, but they had to go out. The herbs could help them temporarily resist the sun. "Open a path for the villagers," Ning Shu said. The high priest nodded. That's good, that's good. We don't know how to repay you. Why are you helping us?" the high priest asked. Ning Shu said sadly, "I have to find a place to live." "With your ability, you can go anywhere," the high priest said. "This method is similar to an expert." Ning Shu smiled and said, "I'm not that capable. There are many capable people in this world." "High priest, can you give us a place to stay?" The high priest agreed and told the villagers that they didn't have to move. Ignoring how happy the villagers were, the high priest got the villagers to help Ning Shu build a house. In a few days, a straw hut was built. As it was deep in the mountains, there were all kinds of snakes, insects, and poisonous ants. It was a stilted house. It was moisture-proof. It was not bad. There were all kinds of things given by the villagers, such as dried meat and fresh vegetables. The high priest gave a small wild boar to Ning Shu for Ning Shu to take care of. Ning Shu wanted to say that he already had a cow and didn't want to take care of it anymore. It was tiring to have a cow, a pig, and a child. However, Ning Shu couldn't refuse such kindness. He could only accept it. The people here were more warm and simple than the villagers at the foot of Mt Bain. Ning Shu reclaimed the land in front of him and planted vegetables. Of course, many people helped him with the reclamation. Chapter 1232. Ning Shu almost didn't need to rush about for a living. The boss would give him some food and the West would give him some dishes. The people here didn't have money. Even if they needed something, they would think of it as an exchange. Ning Shu had a feeling of living in a primitive society. Ning Shu's life was very simple. Every day, he would carry Jinjin out to pick herbs and bask in the sun. People could not bask in the sun, especially a child like Jinjin, who was most prone to calcium deficiency. Then he went to learn how to make gu from the high priest. Ning Shu completely gave up the idea of taking away the spirit stone. Every day, when he passed by the ancestral temple and saw the stone statue, he sighed in his heart. He had already obtained a piece. He couldn't be too greedy. These people had to rely on a piece of stone to survive. It was also very bitter. Ning Shu hammered his chest and went to the high priest's house to learn how to make gu. However, the high priest's house was really frightening. There were all kinds of strange things. It was like a water tank full of snakes. These snakes were entangled together. Oh my, it really made people's hair stand on end. The high priest said that he would give the position of high priest to Ning Shu in the future. Ning Shu waved his hand. Forget it. The high priest's position in the village was very high, but Ning Shu wasn't interested. The high priest sighed and expressed his understanding. He said that Ning Shu's body was normal and he could leave at any time. He also lamented about who he should give his skills to. Gu not only harmed people, it could also save people. For example, if a person had some disease in his body, there was rot and pus. Gu could be planted and the gu would eat the rotten flesh. However, this kind of gu was not easy to cultivate. The high priest was passed down from generation to generation. A lot of skills were passed down from generation to generation. Ning Shu only noticed one thing. For generations, it was the same village's marriage. He estimated that there were many marriages between close relatives. Could it be that there wasn't a mutated person who wasn't afraid of the sun? Ning Shu still honestly learned how to make gu. Apart from some disgusting things, Ning Shu's process of learning how to make gu was very pleasant. Ever since he went out to chase Xianyuan how to get back the spirit stone, the high priest's body was getting worse and worse. The high priest said that it was the sun's injury. Ning Shu was speechless. The high priest chose a clever and young child from the village to be his successor. There were still many people in the village who wanted their children to become high priests. Ning Shu was more curious about why the high priestess did not have her own children. The high priest explained that every generation of the high priest would not get married. He had to pay the price for the village. Ning Shu rolled his eyes. This was too inhumane. However, the high priest said that one had to pay a price in order to be respected. The more one wanted to be high and mighty, the more one had to pay a price. Ning Shu thought about it and also felt that it was polite. No one would respect beggars and hooligans on the streets. People would respect successful people because successful people had worked hard for it. Ning Shu was given preferential treatment in this village because she had saved the village. The days passed peacefully one day at a time. Jinjin could now sit by herself and could crawl. The high priest held Jinjin and said that he would let Jinjin be the daughter-in-law of a handsome young man in the village. Ning Shu was speechless. Xianyuan Hao and Xiaoka came back again, but they could not find the location of the village. They could not find the entrance to the village. The village seemed to have disappeared into thin air. The terrain was very complicated. After walking for a long time in the maze-like mountain forest, they got lost. It was Xiaoka who was quick-witted and lucky that they managed to get out. Xianyuan Hao even invited the master of Baiyun Temple. The old Taoist saw some clues, but he had no way to solve it. He almost got lost in the forest. Even if Xinyuan Hao was very unwilling, he had no way to find the entrance. Power that was a powerful power. Those country bumpkins used it to block the sun. Xiaoka could not help but say, "It's all because of that meddlesome village woman." The old Taoist flicked his horsetail whisk. That was not a village woman. Previously, she was a bride who was buried with him. She ran away. She's still this kind of person? Xiaoka sighed. The old Taoist shook his head and said, "Arrogant and unruly. She has no etiquette in her heart. Whoever meets this kind of woman will be unlucky." The most infuriating thing was that they could not deal with her. Xiaoka nodded. "It's quite unlucky. Originally, General had already gotten the spirit stones, but that village woman jumped out and insisted on helping that group of people. Her heart is especially hard." Xiaoka had never seen such a woman. "General, I'm sorry. It's all because of me. If I wasn't so weak, I would have asked General to exchange the spirit stones for me." Xiaoka felt very guilty. Xinyuan Hao looked at Xiaoka. "If I were to choose again, I would still do the same. Spirit stones are inanimate objects. What this general needs is a resourceful military counselor." Xiaoka's eyes were somewhat red. "Thank you, General." Looking at Xinyuan Hao's eyes, there was an indescribable tenderness. The group of people muttered about Ning Shu and silently returned. Ning Shu sneezed and fed porridge to Jinjin. He put down the bowl and touched his forehead. Did he catch a cold? After feeding her, Ning Shu carried Jinjin outside the barrier to bask in the sun. While he was at it, he chatted with some intelligent animals in the forest. For example, he asked where to find medicinal herbs and so on. Generally, only animals with intelligence could answer Ning Shu's questions. This restriction within a certain range of intelligence was a bit big. Ning Shu recorded medicinal herbs one by one in the book. Medicinal properties, main treatment and so on. Every day, he recorded medicinal herbs. Ning Shu had already written a thick book. The days were dull but fulfilling. Ning Shu himself had also successfully refined some gu, but they were all simple gu. After staying in the village for a long time, Ning Shu also slowly understood the village. He heard that every generation of high priest had a gu. This gu was passed down to the next generation when the high priest of the previous generation was about to die. He heard that it was called Thousand King Gu. What Ning Shu cared more about was, could this gu live for so long? It was too unscientific. Ning Shu wanted to see this Thousand King Gu, but the high priest said that this gu worm would not come out. It would only come out when the high priest was about to die and enter the body of the next high priest. The Thousand King Gu's function was to protect the high priest from being harmed by the restless gu when he was refining gu. Ning Shu, it's really getting more and more mysterious. Does this gu exist or not? It seems that she has no chance to see gu. Ning Shu ran to the high priest's house every time to refine gu. He didn't want to make his house smelly, especially some poisonous insects and snakes. What if they come out and bite Jinjin? Slowly, Ning Shu mastered the skill of refining gu and became more and more skilled. Ning Shu found that injecting a little spiritual energy into the urn would make the competition in the urn more intense, and the final winner would be stronger than the general gu. Ning Shu was happy in his heart. He had mastered another skill. As long as the conditions permit, he could refine gu. Whether it was gu that saved people or harmed people, Ning Shu learned them all. There was no harm in having more skills. Ning Shu felt that the current task was getting more and more difficult. He couldn't complete the task without some preparation. He had to stand at the top. It was good to be alive. Chapter 12:33. The high priest Ning Shu asked, "Haven't you ever thought of a solution to your situation?" Ning Shu had always been thinking about the boundary stone of the ancestral temple. If it was a win-win situation, it would be really great. If there was a boundary stone, the world she built would be much tougher. The high priest said, "We will find a solution again. When we go out, we will apply herbs." Ning Shu, is there a possibility that you self-hypnotized yourself that you can actually bask in the sun? Ning Shu spread out his hands. The high priest shook his head. The ancestors once tried to put a child who was only a few months old under the sun, but the child finally died. Such a small child, his spiritual wisdom had not yet developed. Unlike adults, he had fear and emotions, but he died. Ning Shu, if it was a child, there would be no problem with diet. It could only be a natural problem. Ning Shu swallowed a mouthful of saliva and felt stifled. After so many years, have you found the problem? The high priest said, but we found some herbs one after another. These herbs can temporarily protect us from the sun for a while. Ning Shu rolled his eyes until his pupils couldn't be seen. No, I won't. When Ning Shu passed by the ancestral temple, he couldn't help but beat his heart. He completely gave up on this idea. This villager couldn't leave this thing. But it was also a very dangerous thing. It was like a child holding gold to pass through the downtown area. If you encountered someone who didn't know the goods, then forget about it. If you encountered someone who knew the goods, such as Shen Yuan Hao, who had power and military strength, and wanted to rob your things, you could only watch. But they had survived until now, maybe they had some way to deal with it. Jinjin's height was very fast, and her clothes were soon unwearable. Don't look at the backward village, there were no fancy clothes and jewelry, but the food was really not bad. All kinds of game, all kinds of delicacies, Jinjin's food was really not bad. She had milk every day, and there were mushrooms given by the villagers. Ning Shu chopped them with meat and made them for Jinjin. In addition, Ning Shu always injected a little spiritual energy into Jinjin's body from time to time. His body and bones were too sturdy. Jinjin was white and tender. Ning Shu used a red rope to braid her hair. She was really well behaved and moving. Wherever she went, she could let her aunt and her little daughter-in-law hug and pinch her. There were also some young boys who surrounded Jinjin every day, helping Ning Shu take care of the children. Ning Shu, all of them were imps with bad intentions. Now Jinjin could inarticulately call Ning Shu's mother. Some villagers saw that Jinjin's clothes were too small, so they took the old clothes and gave them to Ning Shu, letting Ning Shu change them to make clothes for the child. Ning Shu didn't take it. In this village, cloth was a very precious item. Because they couldn't go out, and because they were living in seclusion, no merchants knew about this place, so they wouldn't come here to sell things. Even if they came to sell, the villagers didn't have the money. Ning Shu would go to the town to buy some things, but the distance was very far. It would take him 2 to 3 days to go there and back. Ning Shu went to buy some cloth to make clothes for Jinjin. Some people in the village asked Ning Shu to bring some things. After all, they couldn't go out for too long. Ning Shu agreed one by one. Ning Shu first went to the medicinal hall to sell some ginseng. The money from selling ginseng was used to buy things. After buying things, he planned to go back to the village. However, Ning Shu had been walking in circles because he found that someone was following him. The price of ginseng was not cheap. With such a huge amount of money, it was inevitable that it would attract covetous eyes. Of course, it didn't rule out that the people in the medicinal hall wanted to rob him. Ning Shu carried Jinjin on his back and walked around the market. He bought a lot of things. There was flour, a little rice, some vegetable seeds, fruit saplings. The people behind him had been following him. Ning Shu was very calm and continued to buy the things that the villagers entrusted him to buy. He dragged a large bag of things out of the town. As soon as he went out of the town, he was blocked by 4 strong men. Ning Shu put the things on the ground and looked at the 4 people. He clenched his fists and moved his wrists. "Hand over the money." A man fiercely shouted at Ning Shu and stretched out his big hand. Ning Shu curled his lips and said, "When did I owe you money?" "Less nonsense, hand over the money, otherwise, you will have a good fruit to eat." The strong man coldly said and pointed to Jinjin who was on Ning Shu's back. "Your child will also be sold." Jinjin's pair of black grape-like eyes stared at these people. He estimated that she didn't know what these people wanted to do and giggled. Jinjin was a child who didn't recognize strangers. Ning Shu moved his neck, and his neck issued a kacha-kacha sound. What a waste of his height. Of all the things he could do, he just had to become a bandit. Ning Shu didn't use 1/10 of his strength, but these people fell to the ground and couldn't get up. The 4 people clutched their stomachs and groaned in pain, lying on the ground and couldn't get up. Ning Shu carried the things and stepped on the hands of these people, crushing them with one foot and one hand. Hand. These people held their hands. The place where Ning Shu stepped on was purple, and the back of their hands were swollen. Ning Shu said with a smile, "Next time I see you robbing, I will trample your hands into pancakes." The four people fled in panic. Ning Shu carried the things and went back. Back in the village, those villagers who asked Ning Shu to bring things didn't have money to give Ning Shu. They used the meat and animal fur at home to exchange with Ning Shu. Ning Shu also exchanged. Later, the fur will be used to make a small vest for Jinjin. Fur was a very expensive thing. When it was time to make clothes, Ning Shu found that his female workers were not very good. Making clothes, making shoes, and so on, they were really not good at it. Ning Shu reluctantly made a small underwear for Jinjin. For large clothes, Ning Shu could only ask other people to help. Ning Shu followed to learn how to thread a needle. He didn't want to be a good wife and mother. He didn't want to be able to embroider embroidery that could attract butterflies. But in case his pants were torn in the future, he could mend it by himself. In case he encountered a more extreme environment, he might be able to use it. In order to be more convenient, he found it troublesome now, but in the future he could only be caught unprepared. After that, Ning Shu also made a few sets of clothes for himself. Although it was not very good looking, it was still quite comfortable to wear. After all, in this place, no one cared much about how good looking it was, as long as it was practical and convenient. She was also a person who could be a tailor. The high priest's body was getting worse and worse, especially after the weather became cold. He had to lie in bed for the whole day. The high priest called Ning Shu in front of him and asked Ning Shu to help take care of his successor, the next high priest. A 7- or 8-year-old child was squatting beside the bed, looking at the high priest wiping his tears. Ning Shu took the high priest's pulse and somewhat speechlessly said, "Are you really unable to do it, or are you just scaring yourself? Your body is weak, but it is not to the point of death." "I am still clear about my own body." The high priest said, "Last time when Xianyuan Hao removed the goo, my body had some backlash." Ning Shu remembered that last time the high priest vomited a mouthful of blood. Chapter 12:34. Ning Shu checked the high priest's pulse again and injected some spiritual energy into the high priest's body, saying, "Your body is very good, you can still live for a long time. I have a ginseng at home, you can take it to replenish your energy. You are tired from chasing Xianyuan Hao some time ago." Ning Shu said. Ning Shu still wants the high priest to live. The high priest is a good person, a kind old man. The high priest shook his head. "My time is coming, the 1,000 king goo in my body is beginning to become restless." Ning Shu replied with an "oh," and then transferred some spirit qi into the high priest's body. Ning Shu did not pass on the peerless martial arts. After all, this is not the cultivation world. Although it is somewhat mysterious, the peerless martial arts are still beyond the power system of this world. It directly absorbs the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Ning Shu checked the high priest's pulse every other day. Every time he checked the pulse, he would inject some spiritual energy into the high priest. He also gave a ginseng to the high priest's disciple to boil some soup for him. Ning Shu asked, "Is the 1,000 king goo in your body harmful to your body?" Ning Shu had goosebumps just thinking about the insect in his body. Of course, Ning Shu did not have goosebumps when he used the goo on others. No, the 1,000 king goo and the high priest of the past generations complement each other. If the 1,000 king goo wants to survive, it must be in the human body. The high priest said. Ning Shu nodded. It turned out to be a symbiotic relationship. It's amazing. The high priest's body is a little better. He can walk around when he has nothing to do. However, teaching his disciple is really simple and crude. He just stuffed everything to his disciple. Ning Shu thought that the high priest could live for a while. In the middle of the night, the high priest's disciple knocked on Ning Shu's door and cried to Ning Shu, "The high priest is dying." Ning Shu froze for a moment, holding Jinjin. He went to the high priest's place. There are already many villagers. These villagers are crying in a low voice. His expression was sorrowful, and it was clear that he was sincere. Ning Shu walked into the house and saw the haggard high priest. The flesh on his face had shrunk, and he was really all skin and bones. Ning Shu was puzzled. "Why are you so skinny? When he came here yesterday to refine the goo, it was not like this." The myriad king goo absorbed it. "Since it's going to turn into ashes anyway, let it have a good meal," the high priest calmly said. The myriad king goo absorbed the remaining vitality in his body. Ning Shu, fuck, the high priestess really wasn't done by a human. In just a short while, the outside of the house was filled with people kneeling and kowtowing to the high priest in the house. With great difficulty, the high priest said to Ning Shu, "Help me take care of him. He can become the high priest of his clan." Ning Shu comforted the high priest. "He will. He will definitely become the most outstanding high priest." The high priest closed his eyes and his body trembled. A golden worm crawled out of his mouth. This worm looked like a silkworm, its whole body was golden and it moved very slowly. How could such a powerless guy be trained to become a goo king? The myriad king goo crawled out of the high priest's mouth and slowly climbed onto the successor high priest's palm. It emitted a fragrant smell. The successor high priest was a bit scared, but he still opened his mouth. The myriad king goo crawled into the successor high priest's mouth. The successor high priest gulped it down. Ning Shu couldn't help but stretch his neck and gulp down his saliva. The high priest said a few words and then breathed his last. The high priest's death plunged the village into a sorrowful atmosphere. The villagers followed tradition and held the most complicated and cumbersome funeral. Ning Shu also wore mourning clothes. After experiencing so many worlds, Ning Shu found this village to be the place with the purest people. These people didn't have much ambition and lived in seclusion. They didn't have exquisite jewelry, beautiful clothes, or brothels. They worked at sunrise and rested at sunset. It was very simple. Sure enough, people's pain came from their desires. They struggled in their desires. They struggled in their love and hate. They hated each other, they loved each other, they couldn't get what they wanted. Many kinds of pain were things they couldn't get what they wanted. Since ancient times, from the high officials to the common people, most of them tortured themselves because they couldn't get what they wanted. They tried their best, they used all kinds of tricks, they schemed, they fought openly and secretly, but in the end they killed their loved ones. Even Ning Shu was now begging to be able to live and build his own world. After the funeral, the successor high priest, who was only 7 or 8 years old, became the high priest and lived next to the ancestral temple where the high priest lived. Ning Shu made some delicious food for the young high priest when he had nothing to do. However, the high priest didn't need to cook himself. Every family in the village took turns to deliver food to the high priest. The best food in the house was given to the high priest. Ning Shu went to see the high priest when he had nothing to do. After all, the high priest asked him to make some extra clothes for the high priest when it was cold. Although the days were monotonous, Ning Shu's heart was very calm. No matter how vigorous the days were, in the end, they would return to this kind of peace, unless they died vigorously. Ning Shu imagined that one day he would sit on a rocking chair and watch the world that belonged to him change, the clouds move, the white clouds change, the white dogs change. It was very cool. However, when could he gather the world's origin? Damn, ding, mission completed. Do you want to leave the mission world? A mechanical voice sounded. It wasn't 2333's voice. Ning Shu, 2333 sleeping again? Ning Shu lamented in his heart. The boundary stone was in front of him, he could reach out and take it, but he couldn't take it. AI Ning Shu kissed Jinjin's forehead. I hope you will be a strong child in the future. Ning Shu hammered his heart. Damn, boundary stone. Ning Shu said. Ning Shu's head was dizzy, he opened his eyes again, and then his whole person was stunned. Damn, this was his system space? The surrounding walls had cracks the size of a thumb, the cracks on the walls were like spider webs. This was after the earthquake? The system space was a mess, bookshelves fell to the ground, books were scattered all over the floor. There was a black hole in the wall. Ning Shu, what's this situation? Ning Shu asked with a face full of confusion. Next, read 2333 system's last words. The system said mechanically. Ning Shu, last words? My energy is now exhausted. It wasn't easy for the system space to not collapse. Now the virtual space channel is closed. Shut down the system that can be shut down to save energy. I will go into a deep sleep to save energy. I will use the backup system to help you complete the mission. The mainframe needed a lot of energy to operate. The current 2333 didn't have any extra energy to support it. Ning Shu, fate is full of troubles. This 2333 is really, he had never seen a system with so many disasters. Chapter 1235. The number of times 2333 malfunctioned made Ning Shu doubt life. She was unlucky to meet a system like 2333. Or 2333 was unlucky to meet a mission enforcer like her. Next time, she would ask other people if their systems were the same. 2333 was always spending more than he earned. Let him go. Ning Shu drew a cross in front of her chest. 2333 also said that if there is no more energy, the system space may collapse. Once the system space collapses, the spirit orb will be lost. Who knows where it will be lost? Ning Shu, cough, cough, cough. This was revenge. Imagine if the system space exploded, the spirit orb would definitely be lost. Ning Shu thought for a moment and said, next mission, see if there are any system missions. Even if it was for the spirit orb, he couldn't let the system space collapse. Okay. The system's voice was very mechanical, without a trace of human. Ning Shu picked up the bookshelf that fell on the ground and placed the book on the shelf. The system space was full of cracks. Above and below his feet were cracks of various sizes. Ning Shu couldn't help but be careful with his feet. He was afraid that if he stepped on the cracks, the system space would explode into pieces. Ning Shu tiptoed, walked to the side of the sofa, held his breath, and carefully sat cross-legged on the sofa and began to cultivate. After he finished cultivating, Ning Shu touched his face and felt that his soul had become stronger. Ning Shu rippled for a while and opened the status panel. Probably due to the lack of energy, the status panel was almost transparent and the words on it couldn't be seen clearly. Ning Shu craned her neck and narrowed her eyes as she stared at the attribute panel. Number, 2333 Name, Ning Shu Advanced Mission Enforcer Age, 27 points, 54 million soul, 340 life, 131 wisdom, 364 charm, 50 luck, 229 spirit, 260 faith, 17515 martial strength, 392 aptitude, 149 merit, 13710 skills, 5th ring shooting technique, intermediate close combat technique, exceptional martial arts proficiency, intermediate poison technique, beginner business management knowledge, beginner code programming, beginner lawyer skill, sage ghost catching skill, beginner goo technique. Honorary titles, Goddess of War, Selfless Ancestor Items, Calm Halo, Tranquilizer, Faith Halo, Amulet 4, Upgraded Amulet 2. Aura, Mother of the World Empress Blessing, Model Worker Sister Chin Shi's Blessing, Leader Aura Grass Blessing, Lifelong Friend Meow Meow Meow's Blessing, Life-Saving Hand Zhu Su Nyang's Blessing, Founding Female General Chen Ermiai's Blessing, Lawful Beauty Chen Ning's Blessing, Transcending Race Communication by San Yang's Blessing. Note: communication can only be achieved within a certain range of wisdom. Fulfill Lu Xiaoya's wish, get rid of Li San Lang, and leave the Li family. Mission completion rate, 100 points. Mission rewards, 5 million general points, 40 attribute points, 3,000 faith power, 150 merit points. Not bad. Faith power was always more than merit points. Merit points were too hard to come by. Most likely, this faith power was accumulated from the previous worlds. Perhaps the power of faith was the first standard to reach the level of a super mission taker. Ning Shu distributed the attribute points. Serial number, 2333 Name, Ning Shu Senior Mission Taker Age, 27 points, 54,000,000/5,000,000 soul value, 340 health value, 131 wisdom value, 36410 charm value, 50 luck value, 22910 mental power, 26010 faith power, 175153000 martial power, 39210 aptitude, 14910 merit, 13710 skills. Fifth ring shooting technique, intermediate close combat technique, exceptional martial arts proficiency, intermediate poison technique, beginner business management knowledge, beginner code programming, beginner lawyer skill, sage ghost catching skill, beginner goo technique. Honorary titles, Goddess of War, Selfless Ancestor Items, Calm Aura, Heart Setting Pill, Faith Aura, Amulet 4, Upgraded Amulet 2 Aura, Mother of the World Empress Blessing, Model Worker Sister Chin Shi's Blessing, Leader Aura Grass Blessing, Lifelong Friend Meow Meow Meow's Blessing, Life-Saving Hand Zhu Su Nyang's Blessing, Founding Female General Chen Ermiai's Blessing, Lawful Beauty Chen Ning's Blessing, Transcending Race Communication by San Yang's Blessing. Note: communication can only be achieved within a certain range of wisdom. After adding the attribute points, Ning Shu took a book from the bookshelf and started reading. After flipping through the book, Ning Shu sat cross-legged and put on the Buddha bead bracelet. He started to chant the clear heart mantra to calm his heart. With the Buddha bead bracelet, heart-setting pill, and clear heart mantra, Ning Shu felt that he could ascend to nirvana and become Buddha. Anger clouded his mind. Only by maintaining a calm heart could he complete the mission. Otherwise, if he couldn't complete the mission, he might be killed. Even if he was angered to death and went crazy on the spot, he had to calm down. After chanting the clear heart mantra, Ning Shu felt that his mind was clear and his mind was clear. Ning Shu said, "Enter the mission." A mechanical voice sounded, emotionless. Ning Shu felt dizzy for a moment and slowly merged into a body. After his soul and body completely merged, Ning Shu opened his eyes and looked at the decorations around him. It was a modern style and there were posters on the wall. It was a picture of a handsome man. It was probably a celebrity. There was the sound of car horns outside the window. This was the modern era. Ning Shu sat up and rubbed his head. His nose was a little stuffy. He probably caught a cold. Ning Shu sat cross-legged on the bed and began to cultivate. There was little spiritual energy in the modern era. Ning Shu cultivated for a while and only sweated a lot. However, he felt much more comfortable and his nose was cleared. Ning Shu took a piece of tissue to wipe the sweat on his face and then began to accept the plot. The original owner was called Huduo. She was 22 years old and was still in college. However, she would drop out of school soon. The reason was that the person opposite Huduo, a boy who had been playing with her since childhood, was called. He had graduated from college, but he had been staying at home and didn't go out to look for a job. Even if he found a job, he would quit after a few days. Sometimes, the boss looked down on him. Sometimes, it was because the work was too tiring. He had graduated from college. How could he do these things? People looked down on him if he had a good salary. However, he felt that those tiring jobs didn't match his identity. After all, he was a college graduate. In the end, he decided to stay at home and live off his old age. He wore a vest and flip-flops every day. He was unkempt and played games on the computer every day. He slept until noon every day, completely ignoring his parents' feelings. He had conflicts with his family and resented his parents for not being rich. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.